Good evening and welcome to the We Are Rise show. I'm your host, Brett C. Collins. How you doing on this wonderful Monday? How was your Thanksgiving Day holiday, your weekend, your extended weekend? Mine was great. Enjoyed it. Always love Thanksgiving. Weather was fantastic. I can't complain. There's other things I can complain about, but not Thanksgiving. My favorite time of the year. Let's welcome in my co-host, Marshall Smith. What's up? How was your weekend?
It was good. Nice and
Yeah,
quiet.
nice and
Just
quiet.
laid back, you know.
Yeah.
Finished off my ribeye. It was delicious.
Oh yeah.
Other than that, we're good. A lot
Yeah. It
going
was
on out there.
a lot of stuff going on, but it was it was pretty I wouldn't say simple weekend per se. I mean, considering what's taking place right now, it's just like it's hard to not watch everything that's unfolding, not caring about anything, not just putting down your phone or anything and just trying to figure out how things are going to, pan out, because the way things are looking these days, it looks, and the veil keeps crashing. I mean, it keeps coming down, the curtain keeps coming down, or it keeps coming up in some way. However, your perspective is that we're uncovering more and more stuff. I mean, we're going to get into the little Somalia. I mean, it's just so bad in so many ways. And, to paint the picture that we hate Muslims or we hate this. No, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, let's face it. Right now, I think America is tired with illegal immigration. They're just tired with migration. They're tired with any of this stuff. They're sick of it. You know what? It's closing time. One last call for alcohol, but you can't stay here. You got to go home. And I think it's time. I think that's the attitude people have. We don't hate Muslims. We don't hate this. We don't hate that. But we're sick and tired of you ripping the system off. Maybe there are some that are really bad that probably should be in jail and don't pass go and collect the $200. But we're going to get to that tonight. Welcome in Pill.net. Hello, everybody on Rumble. And yes, we are on YouTube tonight. So if YouTube is working, just go over there and subscribe, please. Leave us a comment. Share it if you like. Same thing over here on Rumble as well. You can help us out with Rumble Rants, or you can help out on Pill.net as well. We'll get to Pill in a second. Tonight's show, Toxic Empathy. This is something that was a book that was written, and I guess we'll discuss a little bit about this and how this is coming back into the fold. And the body count of virtue. This is not about sexual congress, by the way. I'm not talking that body count. I'm talking about the body count, the death toll, okay, based upon what we see because of the toxic empathy that people have. Oh, these poor people, the refugees, the asylums, all these anchor babies, all this stuff that gives way to what? The virtue, and that virtue ends up becoming what? The vice, and that vice ends up biting us in the ass. Just like President Trump's fable that he talks about with the snake and the farmer, so to speak, because that's the woman, the kind woman, a snake. That's exactly what he's talking about, and that's the problem. That's the trap we're in. Little Somalia we'll get to. Weekend at Nicolas. Okay, we're going to talk about Venezuela and who is everywhere. We're going to discuss that tonight. Welcome in Pill.net. Who's here? What's up, Thea? If you guys are having problems on Pilled because of the ads and stuff, let me know. We 5x5 over there. It seems like they were problematic in the beginning for some. You have to refresh, restart. Would you say dropping 117 gold pills? Thank you so much. Who else is here? Thea, thank you for the shades. Yeah, let me know if you're still having problems, Thea. Blue Viking, welcome in. Patty B, how you doing? Trusty Turnip, good to see you. Sausage Launcher, I'm glad to see you're back. Curious Cat, thank you for the buy me a coffee. You're probably one of the few people that still use it. I have it. Thank you so much for the buy me a coffee. I appreciate that. Trump One, how you doing? Gifted the can. Trump One gifted the can again. Yeah, I hope that there are not problems if anybody's checking out YouTube. We're on YouTube. I know Thomas had some problems on early today. I don't know if it was YouTube or in general. I'm not really sure per se. What's up, Tracer C4? So we'll figure that out going forward. Like, share, and subscribe. Drop us a gold pill, comments, questions, and concerns. If you want to help out, MarshallCoFi.com/.
And I forgot to thank Curious Cat for the donation.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Go ahead. No, thank you, Curious Cat, for the donation.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it. That's really kind. Yeah, Merry Christmas to you. Yes, Merry Christmas early to everybody. Happy holidays, whatever you guys want to say. I say Merry Christmas, but I could care less about anything else. Let me know. Leave a comment in the chat. Let's hear your conversations about tonight, because Tonight, the empathy is the new Christian battleground. I think so. This is the problem we're having. As the U.S. grows more diverse, a quiet civil war is unfolding with the American Christianity. I agree with this 100%. I've had problems with this for a while over who deserves empathy. Oh, let me just put this in. They just want me to pay the toll. Okay. So the bottom line about this is that this is what's got us. This is what's happening with the Catholic Church, the Catholic ministries, about bringing all these people over. It's about empathy. It's about sympathy. No, it's not. It's about money. It's about trafficking. It's a lot worse than that. But the idea that they want to sell you empathy, all right, this idea that in some way this is divine compassion. This is the problem we have. And this is what led to us. This is the soft underbelly of America right now. And we need to change this. This needs to be reversed. Why it matters. Conservatives are raging, from evangelical pastors to Elon Musk, started framing empathy is not a virtue. It's not. But as a vulnerability on immigration, racial justice, LGBTQ rights. They're working to drive out school lessons on empathy and argue in books and sermons that empathy is weak or woke. Yeah, I think so. Others say empathy is essential to Christianity and the teachings of Jesus. I disagree with that. I don't see empathy in the Bible. The split comes as Christianity and organized religion are shrinking, and the U.S. undergoes a profound demographic transformation. No single racial group will hold a majority within 2 decades. Wow. Empathy is hoisted up as a highest virtue, or even a virtue at all. Get us into a really big mess. Conservative author Allie Beth Stuckey. All right. This is on the Glenn Beck podcast. She wrote a book last year. We're going to cover that. Family Talk podcast. She wrote Toxic Empathy, How Progressive Exploits Christian Compassion. Empathy is dangerous. Empathy is toxic. Empathy will line you with hell. Pastor John McPherson, a conservative men's ministry influencer, Stronger Men Nation podcast. Pastor Joe Rigney in his book, The Sin of Empathy, Compassion and Its Counterfeits. Yes, attacks empathy as spiritually dangerous. Yes. Can it be a spiritual weakness? Is it morally defunct? Yes. It leads to that one logical conclusion, all right, that you choose this because you feel guilty. You feel like you got to do something. But in fact, it ends up biting you in the ass in the end. And really, this is what America has got. We've listened to the globalists. We've listened to former presidents who let people in, opened the door, flooded this from all these people around the world who need our help. I don't know what, let's put it this way. What idea that came from in some way, but we have no more resources. We don't have any more wealth. They're ripping and robbing us blind. They're killing us simultaneously while they're stealing our homes, raping our women. It's over. It's come to an end. And yes, we're going to push the line on this. Weaponized and linked to civilization decline. Yes, the migration problem throughout the world and the United States, legal immigration, anchor babies, you name whatever you want. Okay, the bottom line, it's over. Around 8% of the U.S. adults say empathy was a moral value that underpinned a healthy society, according to wide-ranging survey. That's Public Religion Research Institute. Only 16% empathy was dangerous emotion that undermines our ability to set up our society that is guided by God's truth. The other side is Christian tradition. To have anybody argue that the spirit of empathy is somehow a vulnerability is insane, Father Brendan Buss, Pastor Dolores Mission Catholic Church. See? Catholic Church Mission in Los Angeles tells us. Buss said, suffering of Jesus on the cross invokes empathy and does the call of the least of these people in the Gospels. My God, this is so disheartening. This is how they divide and conquer you, by convincing you, okay, that you are not Christian enough, that you got to go that extra mile. Okay, I'm sorry. I mean, our wealth has been stolen. Our lives have been taken away from us. Our family members, American citizens have been murdered, raped, and killed. They've been ripping us off for decades. It's got to come to an end. I have no empathy for these people. I have anger and frustration, and kick them out the fucking door. It's done. North Carolina-based repairers of the breach, founded by Bishop William Barber, uses empathy to fight poverty and economic inequality. Well, you could do that overseas, all right? We don't have this problem we have in this country. We have to solve our problems. I don't care about the rest of the world in its, let's just say, in its entirety. I understand we have to deal with these people in a lot of ways, but we don't have to invite them in to the front door and let them eat everything in our home, all right, bleed us dry, and then end up killing us and then burning our house down subsequently, simultaneously. Social emotional learning is an educational strategy that teaches empathy, cooperation, and social skills. SEL bans have failed to pass following opposition from educators and modern Christians. The bottom line, the Bible gives conflicting messages on empathy. I disagree with that. On one hand, McCallum said that some stories in the scripture speak of empathy only for your ethnic group and disregard others, like Joshua's passages and the walls of Jericho and killing of innocent children. Then there's a universal empathy where your empathy extends beyond your own group, McCallum said, pointing out to the Beatitudes and Jesus' parable about the Good Samaritan. Well, you know what? I don't see in the Bible where it says that, hey, look, being the Good Samaritan, you end up getting killed by helping somebody fix a flat tire. They end up robbing and stealing your car. Man, you know what? I just think in some way, people use this to exploit us in so many different ways, Marshall. And I'm sick and tired of the idea that Christianity, okay, is the end-all, be-all of solving our problems in regards to this, because the Catholic Church has proven many and many times these missions, bringing over all these illegals, it wasn't for the sanctity and the good and the blessing. A lot of these people were brought over for reasons of money and economics and trafficking and many other deplorable things.
Yeah, I call it suicidal empathy because that's what it is. I mean, it's more of that because it ends up in death.
Mm-hmm.
But the way they package it, Brett, is the same way they package these charities, these international charities on TV, like the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, where they show a poor old Russian woman in a shack trying to survive on potatoes. It pulls at your heartstrings, and the money ends up going to administrators and other areas where there's corruption. A lot of these, the St. Jude's is another one. I mean, a lot of these have they have good intentions, but the money doesn't go directly to, very little of it ends up in the hands of the people that need it.
Well, is it an illusion? Is it an illusion, or is it partly a trick? I think it's a little bit of both. And it may not be an illusion because it's as real as we could take it as, but it's extremely useful hack to and for predicting, manipulating, and exploitation. That's my belief. It is an Achilles heel, the soft underbelly of humankind, mankind, of America. Okay, this giving and loving, passionate country that has basically been what? We have been invaded, ladies and gentlemen. I'll give you today. General Flynn put this out. An invader is someone who forcibly or illicitly enters and seeks to dominate or displace, rather than someone who peacefully migrates or seeks asylum under established laws. This is not a racist issue. This is war. And we are in war right now. We have been invaded. The monsters are roaming the countryside. The mask has come off. We see what's going on. What is taking place in Minnesota, little Somalia is out of control. The governor needs to be arrested, or he needs to stand down. I mean, the DHS and many other people already complained about this guy. They got massive problems. The back and forth between Trump and the governor right now is basically on blast, and it's exposing, all right, the corruption that is happening. 80,000 illegal. How many people in Minnesota that were brought over here illegally? 60,000 that were brought over here illegally. We don't know the numbers. How many of these people are partaking in the fraud, defrauding this country? We don't know. But they've arrested 86 people. We'll get to that. So toxic empathy, why voters should support mass deportations. This is my point. This is an excellent understudy here. The policies that each presidential candidate represents undoubtedly have an effect. This was written in 2024 in October, before the election of 1 month. Back in 2016, I was squeamish when Trump was talking about the wall. I've been absolutely changed on this subject. Stuckey tells Matthew Peterson and Jill Savage of the Blaze News TV. Let's listen a little bit of this. Remember, this came out last year. If it's going to play. I don't know if it's going to play. That's unfortunate.
Glenn, what do people need to focus on right now?
Well, for the election tonight, he's got to be the opposite of Donald Trump. He just needs to be calm, cool, collected, very presidential in his attack. Outside of that, people need to prepare for anything that could happen. The world doesn't make sense right now, and Israel being attacked today, I think, is only going to get worse.
Yeah, Allie, there's so many different things going on around the world right now. What is it that you would say to everybody watching and listening right now?
I would say stay focused. Remember that the policies that each candidate represents will have a real effect on your life. It's easy to not only get overwhelmed, but as you're overwhelmed, get demoralized and feel like nothing matters. Feel like your voice doesn't really count because maybe it's pre-orchestrated anyway. But look, we've only got so few responsibilities and rights and privileges left. We don't know how long these things are going to last. So at the very least, see voting as stewardship of your citizenship, as faithfulness, even as obedience, as being grateful for the opportunity that we have, and get all of your friends to do the same. They want you to feel like you don't have power. Don't give in to that.
Matthew, you're editor-in-chief of Blaze Media. You go through and decide different stories all the time. What is it that you are looking
know that
on his promise of mass deportations alone,
Yes.
right? We're talking about
Yes.
illegal immigration.
100%.
It's such an issue right now.
Yes.
How do we deal with it? Well,
Yeah.
Donald Trump has a plan.
Yeah, you know what? Back in 2016, I was squeamish when Donald Trump was talking about the wall. I have been absolutely changed on this subject. As I was writing my book, it's called Toxic Empathy, and it basically explains how progressives exploit Christian compassion to get especially women into believing that the progressive side of an issue is the most compassionate one. The chapter that I was most passionate about writing, that made me the angriest, was the immigration chapter, telling the stories of Kate Steinle over again. The last words that she uttered, "Help me, Daddy," before she died in his arms because an illegal alien took her life. Molly Tibbetts, same thing. Laken Riley.
This is the point. You should never forget these names. These people were murdered by the invaders of this country. I have no empathy for these people. I have no empathy if you're a legal alien, criminal scum, or you snuck in through the back door and you stayed here for decades, and now you got to go. You better self-deport, all right, to save your ass in the long term of what's going to come, because you're never going to be able to come back in this country. But I hope you don't self-deport, because once you're done, you can't come back in. And I think that's really the opening a salvo that most people should take away from seeing this, is that these people don't self-deport. They're never going to come back when we remove them. They're done, because you already violated the law. You're not coming back into this country, and we don't want you anymore. It's racist to say it. General Flynn is right. This is not about racism, about brown or black or Muslim or Jew or whatever third worlder you are from. I'm so over the idea that you can't use racism anymore to attack me because I don't want you in this country anymore. You're living off subsistence. My tax dollars are paying for you to live. You don't have a job. All right. You're getting federal benefits. You're getting free health care. What God knows what else you're stealing from. Fraud, all SNAP benefits, you name it. Everything that's involved. This is the very reason we want you out of this country. And because we've been invaded. The wool has been pulled back. We can see what's out there. We understand. And if you really think it's about racism, well, then fine. I don't really care. I don't want you in this country. Period. The end. Because you're robbing us blind. You should never been with. And you know what? I have a right to say it because I was born here. All right. Generations of my family. We're born here. We're over this shit. All right. I don't want to go to your country. All right. And I know these people are bitching and crying. I don't want to go back. Well, that's too bad. That's too bad. Asylums, all this stuff. I said years ago, we need a moratorium on immigration. We need a moratorium so badly at this point that we can't have all these people coming. You got to pause everything. You got to review it, kick everybody out, stop immigration for at least 2 years, at least, and then remove as many people as you can before you want to start bringing people in. All right. And actually, why don't you go to the people that actually can get a job? All right, like the farmers in South Africa we were talking about. I'm all about bringing those white South African farmers over here that are being genocide, all right, there, because this anti-white rhetoric and hatred that is spreading everywhere. See, that's also the soft underbelly disease in this country, is blame Whitey for your problems while you rob us blind, burn our homes down, and everything else that you're doing in this country. So if it looks like it's racism and it smells like a racism, then it probably is, because I don't really care.
Avoidable crimes. These are lives that should still be here. And it's a deliberate policy choice. And we have an opportunity now to change who's in charge.
And you know who's going to make the difference? It's moms.
Yeah.
Moms. I just can't get my arms around the propaganda and the behavioral science that has gone through to make moms say, well, I hate Donald Trump more than I hate the drag queen story hour in my school. I hate that more than gender mutilation or bodily mutilation of our kids. I hate that more than the crime that's just outside of my neighborhood and maybe in my neighborhood. All of these things that are happening, they have hired since Barack Obama huge swaths of the best behavioral scientists to get women to feel that way.
Yeah, I think it's toxic empathy. And that's why I wrote the book, because they hoist up a victim, whether it's the woman who needs an abortion or the mom of 3 who's fleeing Colombian gang violence. And through toxic empathy, they blind you to both reality and morality. So the only person in that moral equation you think is the victim that's hoisted up by the media. And through this emotional manipulation, they make you feel like you're a good person by voting for the Democrats because they stand for the least of these. And within that is misplaced mothering. A lot of these women, the so-called childless cat ladies, not my words, but there's a misplaced nurturing there. And they think that they are taking care of these marginalized communities by voting with social justice policies.
If you know anything about,
And that's it. Marshall, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, that's what's going to, and Orwell said it. I mentioned it the other day that he said that the women are going to be the ones that destroy the country.
Yeah.
They gobble up these phrases, these slogans.
Mm-hmm.
He called them the gobblers of slogans.
Yeah.
And they eat it up. And then they're like, they feel good about themselves because they don't have a family of their own. They don't have any of that. So this is the way they can get their virtue out there. And then it ends up killing them. So, it's disgusting, really.
Yeah, and I just want that. I think that with the idea that we're seeing the veil, the moratorium on everything that's coming, the pause, the great pause, the delay, the suspension, they're going to go through everything. They're going to have to go through everything and see, did you violate your green card, your visas? Did you sneak in through the asylums? Were you married to somebody that was a relative, a family member, like Ilhan Omar? All these different things. All right, they're going to have to go through this systematically, pause all this stuff, review this, and if you're problematic in some way, you got to go. And I think that's and everybody's getting scared and worried about it, and you should be. And that was the show that I said, I want these illegal criminal alien scum. I want all these people who think since they didn't commit a crime, even though they snuck through the back door, you did commit a crime. Yes, there are 2 levels of this understanding. The people who commit crimes that come from this country that already broke in, that are still ongoing by committing crimes, while the other people that supposedly are trying to assimilate whatever and they're ripping us off blind behind the scenes are quietly doing the same thing, but in a different manner. And we're supposed to feel guilt, and we're supposed to what? Have sympathy or empathy for these people. The truth about toxic empathy and why it's becoming a controversial topic. This was in February of 2025. Now that the veil is lifted, everybody could see. But before we consider these cases, we must ask the question, what is empathy? All right. The term empathy is defined as the action of understanding, being aware, being too sensitive, vicariously experiencing the feelings, thoughts, and experience of another. Yeah, that's out the door. In other words, empathy is about understanding how another person is feeling. Well, you know how I'm feeling every time I see a white Christian woman, man, child murdered? Yeah, that's how I feel. That empathy went right out the door, and it's been gone. I've lost that a long time ago. So, yeah, it teeters on racism, but I'm okay with it. Yes, if it appears that we don't want brown or black or these people in this country, it's because you shouldn't be here to begin with. All right? You broke the law. And now we have to sit here and what? Deal with the fact is that you've been robbing us blind, getting all this money from SNAP and doing all these things. This is the problem. See, the problem is scriptural support for empathy, whether it's Apostle Paul telling the church to rejoice with those who rejoice, weep, and those who weep, or Apostle Peter's extortion of believers to have unity, mind, sympathy, brotherly love. See, this is the problem, what's going on. Jesus Christ, our example here, described in the book of Hebrews as our great high priest who empathizes all our weakness because he in every aspect is tempted. We are yet without sin. And therefore, we see empathy can be a good thing when we look at it biblically. Are we doing it for them or for us? Think about that. What is our motivation of doing this? See, the empathy that is defined, All right. Toxic empathy is described as what happens when people compromise moral values and critical thinking in order to empathize with others, particularly in political matters. Take abortion, take illegal immigration, take asylum seekers, take refugees, take it all in every case form you can. Such cases have gone viral on social media in the past 2 weeks, and this was in February. Recent cases, National Prayer Service at Washington National Cathedral, where Reverend Bishop Marianne Edgar Budd, remember the transgender, all right, priest or whatever it was, that thing that was seated alongside his wife and family, Vice President J.D. Vance, where she was leading a sermon and talking about the LGBT community and illegal immigrants and lecturing President Trump on this. Mr. President, millions have put their trust in you in the name of our God. I ask you to have mercy on these people in our country who are scared now, Bud said during a sermon in unity. That was the most offensive thing. That's right after President Trump got elected, sworn in, and he goes to church, and then they say this to him. And they try to put this and walk this empathy scenario. That's what it is. It's a plot. It's a tender trap. People pick our crops, clean our office buildings, who labor in poultry farms, meat packing plants, wash dishes, what have you. But then urge Trump to have mercy. All right. Where is the mercy for all these dead American citizens? All right. These young girls and boys been raped, abused, molested, never coming back. Where is the mercy? I don't see anybody in the community, the Democrat Party, the fake news media, anybody coming out. You have the governor of North Carolina apologizing today for a young girl that's being deported and showing empathy and sympathy for her deportation. The governor of North Carolina, Stein. That's embarrassing. That is disgusting. But see, that's the problem. See, they're never going to get it. The Democrat Party, the communists, all these people in general, they're far gone. We are now walking this back so it all can be exposed. All my people are getting attacked. The children, I don't understand. He said, I'm so sorry. I wish I could do something, but I can't. I don't know what to do. I'll try everything, I promise. Gomez later shared a post on an Instagram story about her video received backlash stating, apparently it's not okay to show empathy for people. Wow. Criticism against Bud and Gomez attacked them of having double standards because they didn't say anything concerning drug cartels, gangs, sex trafficking of women. Children have been taking place during the Biden administration that we're finding where they are, at least recovering some of them. That's the problem, toxic empathy, where people want others to show empathy despite ignoring the full picture and supporting causes that do more harm than good. I think that's the bottom line. And Stuckey's book, I was reading some of it that she had it on a Telegram that I was reading some interesting tidbits of that. I think that really just places everything into perspective, is that we don't have any patience anymore. I have no empathy for these people, Marshall. I mean, what say you? This is part of the discussion today, which we're going to get into a little Somalia.
It's like a disease with these people. They just can't let it go, man. I mean, they are so addicted to this. It's really a Marxist ideology is all it is. And I really believe that damn vaccine, that COVID vaccine, has got something to do with all this, because it's got graphene in it and 5G with these 5G. And I've been looking more into that, and there's something there. There's something wrong. These people are being, how do I call it? Their mind is being controlled in a certain way. And you can see it. You cannot debate anything with these people, even logically in a calm way. They won't do it.
No, there's the practical concerns about crime, terrorism, resource strain. You can't have simple discussions regarding anything regarding immigration. Look what's happening with ICE. Look what just happened in New York. All right, where they were just blocking all this ICE agents from removing people left and right. There is right now we're teetering on the brink where you're going to see the military in these cities. You have no choice.
Yeah,
this is inherently malicious and it's harmful. Bleeding hearts equal bleeding streets. Compassion or consequence. The cost of kindness could be your death or the life of someone you love is death. Think about that. The body count of virtue that I'm talking about. How many more people have to die in this country for the sake of empathy for illegal, criminal, alien scum? This is an invasion. Don't get twisted about it. Don't think of it as something that it's biblical. It's out of the scriptures. It's our duty. No, it's our duty, all right, to protect one another in this country. It's not our duty to police the world and what? Feed them. It's not my job. It's not your job. It's not President Trump's job. All right? But it seems like lately he's got to clean up the mess of what's happening because of the globalist agenda, because the matrix is breaking. And I think in some way, this is the problem we're left with. And this is the discussion we will continue to have until we get legal migration, remigration, let's just say replacement back, whatever is going to take place. You have to move these people out at greater numbers. National Guardsman Andrew Wolf has responded to nurses today. This was one of the National Guardsmen that was shot who survived. Andrew was asked if he could hear the nurse to give a thumbs up. He did, praying that he could make it. We were told he also wiggled his toes. Those prayers are working. Let's listen to this.
Serious condition. We did have some positive news that we were told that Andrew was asked if he could hear the nurse who asked the question to give a thumbs up, and he did respond. And we were told that he also wiggled his toes. So we take that as a positive sign. I'm not here to speculate, but I will say one thing, that Melody, the mom, has been so positive a force, and she's been asking people across the country to pray for her son, and those prayers are working. So they is that.
Yeah, who weeps for that family? We do. Where is the empathy for them? You see what the media did, bringing out the ex-boyfriend of Sarah Bergstrom on CNN, and then making it look like that she was bitching and moaning about like putting words in the mouth of secondary or tertiary hearsay of saying that, yeah, she didn't want to pick up garbage, she didn't want to do this, she didn't want to do that. And then CNN is just basically, well, she was forced to be there. Who weeps for these people? They wouldn't have to be in this position if previous administrations, our Congress, our Senate did their job so we didn't have illegal criminal alien scum. This falls on the Biden administration. Yes, the vetting of all the Afghans that snuck in this country that weren't vetted. When I say snuck in, they weren't vetted. So that means they came in, all right, with the hat in their hand, their hands open. We're handing out credit cards. We're handing out IDs. We're giving them something for what? There's so much more here. All right, but spare me this nonsense that we have to have empathy for these people that come in this country. What about the empathy for the victims? The victims of this country, of natural-born citizens that were murdered, raped, tortured, and killed. Where is the empathy for them? I don't see it anywhere other than me screaming my freaking lungs out about how I'm so sick to death of these people. You should be sick to death of these people, all right? It's enough is enough. I'm tired of hearing about this, and the corruption in Minnesota is out of control, Marshall.
You know, we should not. First, I can't believe, and I don't understand why we've been taking people from the third world in the first place.
Right.
That I don't get. Now, if it was some scientist from a third world country, that's different. That's one thing, and it would be a rare thing. We need to upgrade based on merit who gets to immigrate into our country. You should have to have a bank account with a good amount of money in it.
Mm-hmm.
And you should have a resume ready to go or a job already lined up before you even get in. So we got problems there.
No, I mean, honestly, I don't know why, like President Trump has said many times, why are we taking the worst of the worst? Okay. We're picking the fruit off the ground that's already spoiled, all right, and bringing it in our country. That's what we have. Broken families, broken homes, corruption, sane asylums that we don't longer have, mental people, just you name it, the worst of the worst. And we're actually dealing with this. And they're saying we're racist because we don't accept these people. We got enough crazy in this country, and you're importing more. I mean, it's I don't know how we can reverse this, but the only way is to shut it down. I mean, it has to all come crashing down. And I don't know what that's going to entail, but it's going to get worse. DFlers object to Trump plan to revoke temporary protected status for Somalians amid fraud. It's coming. Ilhan Omar called President Trump demented, referred to the president's supporters as ignorant, and said she stands with Somalis in Minnesota. You're going to be deported too, bitch. Let me tell you, she's going too. I don't care if she serves in Congress. All right. They're looking at her visa and everything else. Why do you think President Trump keeps referring to her about, that she snuck in the country and she said she was married to her brother? and all the things that she did illegally, and many other people know what's taking place there. Minnesota Democrats gathered in St. Paul to slam Trump announcement that he's revoking temporary protected status. Why do you even have a protected status? Why do all these individual groups have protected status? Blacks have it, gays have it, trans have it. I don't have it. I'm white. White Christians don't have it. I wonder why that is. Think about that. TPS provides temporary legal status to individuals who are presently in the United States, but would face safety concerns if they return to their home country. Somalia was the first designated TPS in 91. Right there. That's the problem. Remember Mogadishu? The designation has been continually renewed since then. On Friday, President Trump announced he was revoking it. The Somalis in Minnesota saying Somali gangs are terrorizing people in Minnesota and $1 billion are missing. Yes, send them all home. Send them all home. That's going to be fantastic. Send them all home. Yes, and arrest the governor simultaneously, too. Don't forget the mayor. Send them back to where they came from. It's over. The announcement came after City Journal story about Minnesota taxpayer dollars being fraudulently obtained by Somalis and allegedly going to fund overseas. Yes, we'll get to Scott Bessent saying no more remittance. No more. That means sending money overseas back to your families. We're going to cut that off. Any tax funding status, we're going to cut that off. For years, Minnesota has endured tidal wave of fraud, largely perpetrated by members of the Somalia community. Yeah, these are just great people. While many praise Trump administration announcement, TPS only applies to several hundred Somalis nationwide. The Somali population in Minnesota alone is estimated between 50 and 80,000 people. It's disgusting. Still, a collection of F-lers, including Minnesota Attorney Keith Ellison, Zanyan Mohammed, Representative Betty McCullen, and State Representative Mohammed Noor, Senate Majority Leader Erin Murphy, and Representative Elam publicly denounced them, of course, because they're all taking money on the back end from this. During the press conference, said Trump's action was cruel. The president was scapegoating the Somali community, and Trump was trying to distract from other issues. The group repeatedly sang the praises of immigration and the Somali community. Look, when I look at this right now, he's putting them on blast. He's letting them know we're coming to get you. We're all investigating you. The Treasury Department's investigating you. They already have ICE there. I wonder how the mobilization is going to happen, Marshall. And remember, where was one of the biggest riots taking place during the George Floyd nonsense? You know, Summer of Love. Where did that happen? Minneapolis. They burned down the police station. A lot of these people in general, what we have behind the scenes there, we have a very, very, let's just say, tough job ahead of us, and it's going to take the military to do it. You're going to need more than federal officers to remove these people, Marshall.
Yes, absolutely. I thought that as soon as yesterday he announced that the National Guard was going into all the cities.
Right.
I think this is leading, like you just said, this is leading up a gradual escalation to where you've got to have them. These people, God bless the National Guard, but you really need people that are really experienced, and that's the military. You get to once we get the military in these cities, that's when I believe all these people standing in front of these ICE vans are going to get arrested.
Yeah, I mean,
they're going to be taken
because
away.
they're going to be armed. And I think right now every National Guardsman that is deputized, federalized, whatever, should be armed. And you know what? If you have to repel borders, you do it. And we'll get to Mark Kelly's, let's just say, retort today. I think that was fitting. Thea, thank you for the shade. Somalis go home. Yeah, I don't want these people here. Thea, thank you for the cookie. Meanwhile, Deep State is activating sleeper cells. Yeah, you heard that many times over by many people speaking in tongue just recently about it. Thank you, Thea, for the shades. Filthy manipulation. Yes, what they do is they tug on your heartstrings. Like they think in some way you're doing a service. You're actually being a good human being. You're being godly when you actually are being convinced, all right, where this enemy is sneaking in and they're allowing to come in because you think it's okay that you can help these people. You can't help these people. You can't. They don't want your help. What they want is your lot in life. We have many examples where many people have been murdered, shot, killed, raped, beaten, tortured, chopped up in little pieces, homes burnt down, cities demolished. They are not here to assimilate. Resistance is futile, but I'm going to tell you right now, they are not here to assimilate. They want here to replace you. That's the great lie that has been, I think, in some way hidden many times over, and people are starting to recognize that this is the bottom line. Why would you want to put 90,000 or whatever it is, how many Somalis, okay, in Minnesota, one of the whitest states in the country, where the population is what, 80-something% white? You think about that. Why was it done over decades in time? And how all these people snuck in and how much more money. Look, when you look at what's taking place, this is an embarrassment. It's not just the gene pool, ratioing people out per se. What it is that they're allowed to get away with this crime, and it's coming to an end. See, that is what's bothersome to me. All right, that the special status that they get, like any other group gets, is a disgrace. See, that's what's bothersome. I'm American. I thought I'm supposed to get special status. When's that coming to me? No, it doesn't matter. I got to come from some third world shithole where I wipe my ass with my left hand. All right. And that's when I get a status. My God, it's disgusting. And people are sick of it. I don't care if it's racism or whatever, xenophobia, Islamophobia. I'm done with it. I don't really care where you came from, but you can't stay here. Because I know the longer you stay here, the more this is that. And I think the sleeper cells that are going to be activated, and when they start activating, the American people start to see that this terrorism that is breeding, that's going to be all over the place, and it's going to go back onto the Democrats and to Biden and all the other people that voted these people in that allowed this to happen. Watch the boomerang effect. Somalis have their own mortgage company that pulls strings, does illegal things, that get the third worlders houses. How about that? Gen Z, how about that? You should be screaming bloody hell to the Trump administration, because what has he done? He's pulled their status away. Now he's going to go after them. Now you can understand. It's not about the economy. It's not about gas, which is going down, by the way, and everything is getting better. Prices are coming down. It's shit like this is the problem that sits before us. And no one wants to do anything about it until President Trump did. The number one thing he got elected on, like 82%, according to the Barris report, is what? Immigration. Fixing the illegal criminal immigration problem that we have here. The murders, rapers, the monsters running the countryside. It's so bad. Imagine how many homeless veterans we could house if all these people are deported like they should be. Listen to this. I don't know if it's going to play.
waxaan caawiyey Aasiya Muuse iyo Sihaam qeyr alaasi way nala shaqeeyeen si fiican ay noola shaqeeyeen warqadii dhan way nala dhameeyeen ku soo xirma gabdhaha si fiican ay noo caawiyeen idinkana hana ay caawiyeen insha Allah.
It's disgusting. You're supposed to speak American in this country, English, excuse me. You're supposed to speak English. And look at this. DHA mortgage sold by Saham. It's disgraceful. This is embarrassing. This is really embarrassing. But this is the problem. This is the problem. Until you get to the heart of these things, wearing those masks, there should be laws. You should not be allowed to wear those. You shouldn't be. All right? Or you could be deemed a terrorist. I don't care about religion. If you're illegal in this country, you snuck in, you're on some visa or asylum. All right, well, that's just too bad. You better follow our rules. And other countries don't put up with that shit. Why do we have to put up with that, Marshall?
And these young people wonder why they can't get into a home, even
Right.
like a starter home, a small starter home, which is where most people start. That's generally how you do it. And they can't even do that, Brett, because all these damn illegal immigrants and other immigrants, they're taking over the places. I mean, they're taking these small towns, Brett, a 3,000 person small town, quaint, beautiful town, and they're dumping 3,000 immigrants there. They just destroyed the whole town.
Right. Aloha, Mom. If Somalis can't speak English, how do they pass their license test? Good one. That's a good one. That's true. How do you pass it? I'm like, yeah. Do they speak multiple languages? Are they multiply? Do they speak multiple languages per se? I don't know. They'd have to. I don't know what it is in that corrupt state. Alita says Dr. Bill Warner is an expert on Muslims. They're absolutely militant. I can't speak fucking today. And religion is fake. Yep, I agree with that.
They're very
tribal. I
tribal.
agree. They're very tribal. All right. Elon Omar claims America hates Muslims and immigrants. We probably do. All right. We probably do. But you
They
know
hate
what?
us.
Exactly. I mean, we've been fighting for how many thousands of years? I don't want you in this country. If it's racist, if it's xenophobic, then so be it. We should enjoy the fact is that we get to choose who comes in this country. All right. And the fact that you snuck in, that you were allowed to come in here because the Democrats allowed you, the communists allowed you to come in so they can have you vote for them. That's the bottom line. That's why the redistricting is going on. We're moving away from all this stuff, and then we're ramping up. Finally, everything that goes, put a moratorium on the immigration completely. And yes, re-immigration, the replacement, whatever you want to call it, the counter migration, whatever is going to be in place until right now has to happen. But this is where we are. Democrat squad member Ilhan Omar went on CNN, blast America. Blast America. She's a congressman. Gone. You gotta get rid of this broad. This time she's going on a much hate there is in this country. Muslims, immigrants, black people, especially black women, which she identifies as. Oh, really? She went on to praise her own. I bet you there's black women who don't sympathize with your plight. All right. Country of Somalia for a gazillion time on how proud she is to be a Somalian. Yeah, I'm not going to play this, but look, this is what it is. I was born in Somalia. I'm proud of that. Get the Somalian who married a brother out of here. Yeah. Look, there are many people that look at this and say, these people are never going to change. First of all, they shouldn't have been here to begin with. Always playing the victim card, zero awareness of words that come out of her mouth we don't like. Yes, but I'm tired of that too. This is Rich, a racist calling us racist for not wanting other races in the country. That is absolutely true. I couldn't believe that. That is actually the most quintessential thing I've heard in a very long time. A racist calling us racist for not wanting other races in the country. Well, there are many countries out there and many people in Italy and in France who don't like Muslims either. You know who doesn't have the type of freedom? Somalia. Yeah, she's openly doing everything in her power to make one nation more like her own beloved home country. That's not how it works, lady. In my country, I'm forced to keep my mouth shut. Here, I'm free to talk trash about this country, and I hope it's changed into my country where I'm forced to keep my mouth shut. Beautiful. The memes on this are fantastic. Why are you so proud about being a Somalia? Why do you not go there since you're so proud of it? Yeah. How come you haven't been back? She supposedly came into our country by marrying her brother. You know, look, President Trump has been talking about this. He obviously is putting a spotlight on this. He's putting her on blast. So that means something is in the works. And I also think that there are many other things that are in work regarding Minnesota. And I do believe that the governor is in deep trouble. He's in deep trouble. And we're going to get to it. Scott Pacent puts this up. He says, at my direction, at the U.S. Treasury is investigating allegations that under the feckless mismanagement of the Biden administration, Tim Walz, all right, hardworking Minnesotans' tax dollars may have been diverted to terrorist organization Al-Shabaab. There you go. Thanks to the leadership at POTUS, real Donald Trump, we are acting fast to ensure American taxes are not funding acts of global terror. How long has this been going on? We will share our findings as an investigative continues. Christopher Rufo, who's been putting this out. I have been reporting America's Somalia fraud rings, which have stolen billions of taxpayer funds. The largest funder, Al-Shabaab, is the Minnesota taxpayer. Wow. This is massive. This is massive. You could look like you can easily see, Marshall, military forces going in and seizing all these operations that are inside Minnesota that were partaking. I mean, think about what's going on in Venezuela. Venezuela is not just a narco-terrorist state. It's also, let's just say, a den full of operators that are training foreign. I think they're under the FTO.
Base.
Yeah, we have the Island of Margarita. We covered foreign. It's a foreign. A federal training ground or a foreign training organization. That's what it's listed, FTO. You could look at Venezuela similarly to what's going on in there, because if we're listing them in the same way that money's going to fund terrorism, just like what happened to the Patriot, what happened to all these laws that were in place to make sure that these things didn't happen, that money didn't go here or didn't go there to fund offshore. And that's why the sentence saying we're shutting this down. We're shutting down all the remittances. We're shutting down any foreign money that's going over. So any money you're sending over to family members or other groups of people, that's being shut down, blocked in this manner. So in some way, Pacent is doing the right thing. Let's listen to Scott Jennings. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that absolutely Dearborn and what is it? Minneapolis.
Yeah.
There's billions of dollars in fraud that they're committing with real estate, SNAP, you name it, Social Security, all of it. And then on top of that, I guarantee you, like you kind of hedged on a minute ago, is that they've got cells all in there, militant cells.
Yeah.
That's where you said, like you said, the military needs to go in, clean a whole thing out. And I would say definitely Dearborn. Dearborn's got a much bigger population.
They got a Palestinian population. They got a lot of problems over there too, with a lot of jihadis, and we haven't even really scratched the surface with that. That's been allowed to go on for a very long time, but we're getting there. We're getting there. You're starting to see that this is the reason why the military has been pre-mobilized. It's been put in place in some way, fortified in many different areas that you don't see behind the scenes, for the very reason that the Insurrection Act will be called, or will be invoked. And this is an example. It's not just the sanctuary states, which Minnesota is, and the sanctuary city fiefdoms, which they are, Minnesota, Minneapolis. But the point being is that what is breeding inside of these things, what is metastasizing, is the cancer, the rot, the filth that grows inside these city-state fiefdoms that are out of control and that are here to harm us. I mean, they've been ripping us off blind. They've been ripping off Minnesotans, the federal government left and right. It's all coming to an end. Thank you, Theo, for the 300 gold pills. 17 is coming for you. What's up? Gift of the cookie. Hello, brothers. Hope you both are having a blessed holiday. Yes. Hope your holiday as well, too. Like, share, and subscribe. Drop us a gold pill, comments, questions, concerns. You can help out Marshall, Ko-Fi.com/surfdog74. Who else is over here? What'd you say? Yeah, Elon Omar Al-Said. I've learned her father, a tyrant. They killed their own people. She got to flee here with the help of a government. So, yeah, it's deep. Now she's here to do her father's work. Look, I think a lot of people already have dossiers on her. They know exactly how she got in this country, who helped her get in this country. But right now, I think it's about, let's just say, exposing people on a larger scale to see what is taking place. And President Trump is doing that. Listen to Scott Jennings. This is massive. Scandal engulfing Kamala's deadweight running mate, Tim Walz. It's not going to go well for Kamala. She's going to run in 2028.
Is engulfing Democratic Governor Tim Walz. And we have to start with acknowledging the dogged reporting of Christopher Rufo on this. He broke the story, and he's forcing the mainstream media to follow it. The situation involves fraud across multiple sectors of the Minnesota state government, with taxpayer money winding up in some truly horrendous hands. It begins with the state's Medicaid Housing Stabilization Services, or HSS, which allows for Medicaid funding to be used for housing. Now, when it started in 2020, the cost of this was $2.1 million. Next year, it was $21 million. Next year, $42, then $74, and finally, a $61 million program in the first half of 2025 alone. The program was shut down on August 1st of this year due to at least 77 payments having credible allegations of fraud. After that happened on September the 18th, 6 Somalians in Minneapolis were indicted over this HSS fraud. Federal charges were brought by the U.S. attorney there. This was just the first round of his indictments. Now, the crimes here are severe. It wasn't just typical Medicare or Medicaid fraud. In these instances, whole entire companies were being fabricated in order to take payments and steal funds. The same day that these fraudsters were indicted,
let me stop you. There was a Minnesota judge that just let off a convicted fraudster who stole PPP money, $7.2 million, and a jury convicted him, and the judge let him go. She intervened, and what happened? Time served. That was it. That's what's going on here. So even if you are to arrest these people, maybe in a federal court or outside of this in some way, you have to find and make sure that they're not going to go before these criminal. See, that's the problem. Until we shut down these judges, and that's why the expose and the judges coming. Insurrection Act, it's got to go. A lot of these judges will have no power. It's time to, I think habeas corpus has to be, let's just say, removed for a period of time. I don't know how long this continues, but stuff like that, incidences like this, that will continue on until we actually show how serious we are, how President Trump takes this to the next level. He has to take this to the next. There's no walking this back. We are at this point. He can't look back and say, oh, I can't go next. I can't go to the next step. It's not going to happen. Of course it's going to happen. How it's going to happen, that's going to be interesting.
Another person from the Somalian community there pleaded guilty in a case called the Feeding Our Families case. Feeding Our Families was a nonprofit primarily run by people in the Somali community in Minneapolis. They embezzled $250 million of relief hunger funds. This was one of the largest of the COVID-era fraud schemes. Just 6 days after this round of indictments went down, another one was served, this time for a woman named Asha Farhan Hassan, also from Minneapolis. She was involved in a $14 million fraud against the state. Now, here's what she would do. Approach families in the community and have their children registered into autism therapy services, regardless if they had autism or not. Parents who took part in that scheme were given monthly kickbacks of somewhere between $300 and $1,500. Between 2018 and 2023, autism claims to HSS in Minnesota went from $3 million to start to a whopping $400 million. Providers went from 41 providers to 328 providers in the same period. Many of these were new centers for autism treatment. So there's all this fraud to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars, all sorts of indictments. And you're probably asking yourself, where did all this money go? If only it were as simple as fancy cars and expensive jewelry, but it's not. It looks like it may have wound up in the hands of terrorists. Al-Shabaab, to be exact, that Al-Shabaab, the Al-Qaeda offshoot. So you had Somalis embezzling money from American taxpayers. The money is being sent back to Somalia, and there it's winding up in the hands of terrorists in 2023.
Wow, that's just amazing. Am I surprised, though? No, I'm not. The question is, how many people, how many groups of people, how did this remittance go over there? Where was this money going? Were they able to track this money? Obviously, they were. How many people were involved with this? Out of the 50, 80,000 people that are there, was this a large community that was doing this? How many people were involved? Was it a small group of people? Are we going to go run through the list to see how many Somalis are part of terrorist organizations? You're going to have to. You're going to have to look at every green card, every visa, every student application, all this stuff. Fine-tooth comb. I mean, I don't know how many people are going to be kicked out of this country or maybe even arrested, put in federal jail. I mean, they should be serving a crime, especially for what they were doing. But if you're funding terrorism, that's another level. That's another level that we're talking about, Marshall.
Absolutely, it's another level. And the first thing I could think of with all this fraud and all this corruption that they're committing, creating these fake NGOs and all this stuff, they could give a good bagel a run for their money. You know what I mean? I mean, they're definitely, they're wheeling and jiving, man. I mean, they're just hustling it, and they're just stealing from us left and right.
Right.
People, the American people should be so freaking mad because this is your money.
Well, this is the problem. The empathy card is always placed. Sin can be tempting. All right. And how small a sin can lead to severe consequences, just like this. All right. If it's not resisted. Yes. This is exactly what I'm talking about. The fact is that you let your guard down. All right. And somehow we got to let these people in. We got to do the best we can to help support the rest of the world. Well, fuck that. And fuck them. Because the rest of the world, all they do is come over here is as a hunting ground, as a shitting ground, a dumping ground, a nesting ground to what? Replace you and your family. To burn down this American dream that we were all bought into. That we were all born in this country. To live a life that we can no longer live because of shit like that. Now wonder why people can't buy homes. Now wonder why there's no money to go around because of the SNAP fraud or this fraud, housing fraud. Illegal alien criminal scum fraud, all these provisions that are put in place. Take it all down. It's time to move on and start recognizing we have been invaded. This is war, and all these people we need to look at as terrorists. That's it. That's how you should look at these people. They're either part of a terrorist cell or part of some militia group. They are been activated, and they've been activated for a while, and they've been robbing this country blind, and we have to look at these people. They're no longer like good and bad people that we can say that are the illegal immigrants. You've broken the law. You've been in this country for way too long. All right. And if you've done more stuff thereafter because of all these things, well, you should be prosecuted. It's not just sent home. I want you excised. I want you hung. I mean, honestly, it's not about treason and sedition. All right. These people are invaders. All right. When you think about them, think of the Patriot Act. Think about enemy combatants. And what do we do to enemy combatants? We shoot them on the battlefield. That's what we should be doing. These people deserve no justice. Zero. All right. If they are part of this cell, their visas, their applications, all that stuff, green cards, don't mean a thing. It's out the window. You can wipe your ass with it. They had nothing. Whatever rights they have or think they have, or whatever stuff they use to sneak in this country, it's out the door. This is a military operation that has to go in and see this. Think about it, 80,000 people. I'm not saying all of them, all right? Let's just say half of them. That's a problem in itself. That's a battalion. What I mean, we don't know what's going on there. I mean, are they been monitored? We don't even know what's on Dearborn, Michigan, with terrorist cells popping up left and right. You have Muslims all over the place. Mondami is an example of the problem that New York is now going to face. They're going to see it first and foremost, right up front, and good luck with that. 51% of these young generation today want socialism. Good luck with that. That's where we're going, because we can't solve the problems that we have right now while we're focused on this. This is a question every American should be asking. People like Dami and Ilhan Omar should not be in our government. Listen to this.
Natural-born citizens of this country to represent the natural-born citizens of this country. Do we think that people that have openly said that their allegiance lies with another country are going to represent you and I and everybody else? That's an absurd thought, and we all know it's not true. So when are we going to wake the fuck up and quit allowing people to come here from other countries who are not citizens to serve in our government and make policy that does not represent the United States taxpayer?
Dual passport, dual citizen, gone. Can't serve in the government. You got to pick an allegiance. Either you're for American or not. That's it. Dual passport, dual citizen. We know many people are that are inside serving in many different capacities all over the place inside of government. Out the door. You can't serve in Congress. You should not be allowed to serve in the administration if you're a dual passport, dual citizen, or what have you. I don't want that either. But what he's saying right now is that the fact is that you have representation that is allowed because of our system in place, so they can come in here, they can become citizens, but yet keep their own dual citizenship, make laws that go back to what? Their own country that they're going to use on us to what? Usurp our country. That's what he's saying. It doesn't make any sense. It never did make sense. This idea of this American dream that you can come here and then you could be who you are and stuff like that, that's out the window. That's gone. Those days are over. Bring me your tired, poor anything. I say, you know what? Take down the Statue of Liberty and send it back to freaking France. I'm done with this shit. I'm done with these people. I don't care. I don't care if it's xenophobic, it's racist, whatever. There are many people who are sick to death of this shit. You screaming bloody hell about SNAP. You wonder why you got so much criminality here. Now you have terrorists funding because you allowed these people in.
When are we going to wake up and fix that? Because that's the actual problem here, and nobody wants to say it. These people do not belong here. When you bring third world people to America, they don't magically convert into American culture. They bring over all the savagery that they have lived with their entire lives here to your backyard. And the reason they're allowed to do that is because people who never have to deal with the consequences of these actions continue to fucking allow it.
Exactly. Well, you sit in your Ivy Tower, these multimillionaires, these billionaires, all these Congress people that got protection and stuff, they're going to be fine. Everybody's going to be fine. It's the rest of us, you and I, that got to put up with this nonsense. That's why the Supreme Court is now what? Revisiting second rights, that city-state fiefdoms might no longer be allowed to block you from carrying your constitutional amendment, your right to carry. Oh, that's coming. We'll cover that in a little bit, Marshall.
Yeah, and you know the other one is they what they are doing here, and I guarantee you, the way that Trump is putting these National Guard in all the major cities, this is a preparation, because what they are doing here, and that lady, that congresswoman that was part of the seditious six, that woman, the CIA lady,
Yeah,
she's
SWAT kid.
Victoria Nuland 2.0.
Oh yeah.
They
Yeah.
are setting our country up. They have been setting our country up for a Ukraine 2.0, another color revolution. This is all color revolution. I know you don't like that term, but that's what this is. They're trying to set us up for this shit.
No, I know. If now you could see the bigger picture. I think people start to see. I mean, I forget about the normies, NPCs. I think they're already lost. People are going to wake up one day and realize we're in an insurrection. We're actually in it. We're in a physical, like the power shut down. You got no internet. Shit's going to go hot. Kinetic. Boom. Yeah, I think so. You know what? I hope it does. I pray it does. I don't think we have a choice. We don't do it. We don't survive. We don't survive. Nick sort of put this out. Tim Walsh on NBC running for cover for Somalis who stole billions of taxpayer dollars. What a shocker.
Have been charged, convicted, and sentenced for stealing more than $1 billion in taxpayer money from government programs during COVID. As you know, Governor, that is more than Minnesota spends each year to run its Department of Corrections. So I want to give you a chance to respond to this. Do you take responsibility for failing to stop this fraud in your state?
Well, certainly I take responsibility for putting people in jail. Governors don't get to just talk theoretically. We have to solve problems. And I will note, it's not just Somalis. Minnesota is a generous state. Minnesota is a prosperous state, a well-run state. We're AAA bond rated, but that attracts criminals. Those people are going to jail. We're doing everything we can. But to demonize an entire community on the actions of a few, it's lazy.
Man,
that phrase was lazy.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, it's sad in some way.
Tired, man.
I know. I mean, but that's the talking point. That's the narrative. Such a perv. I know. What did you say earlier, Trusty Turnip? You said something. I don't know. Was Cock Block the whistleblowers? No, you said something. I forget what it was. Alphabet Omega Pill. Brett, we need to smoke them peace pipe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not breaking bread with any of these people. All right. I mean, when you really look what's going on,
I wish it was the Indians.
Yeah. I mean, if you really understand what's really taking place and you can actually just process it like I do, like we sit here talking, it's a lot worse than it's probably even worse than I can imagine it is. But the fact that he comes out and he looks scared. He looks scared. That's why he put that, that little quip out there and stuff. It's not all of them. Of course not. Yeah. There's some good people there. I'm sure there is. Yeah. Okay.
You know why he looks scared? Because how much money did he get out of all that?
Well, that's exactly how much was
the
traced
money.
back to
That's
him.
it.
Remember, he signed off on all these things as governor to allow these companies and institutions to percolate up into. All right. He allowed all these different types of subsidies to go into that Somalia community. Yeah, he did, Brett. Cock Block, the whistleblower over the fraud. Yep. Holy crap. Caroline Levitt just dropped the bomb on Tim Walsh's. This was today. Very good.
In Minnesota have been ripping off American taxpayers. In fact, 86 people have been charged in a rampant and widespread fraud scheme spanning multiple programs in Minnesota.
It's only a few people.
Of those 86, 78 of those people are Somali, 91% of them charged. So far, 59 of those people have been convicted for their roles in fraud plots that have stolen $1 billion from taxpayers. In one scheme, and this is egregious, a nonprofit and its affiliates with these Somali migrants claimed to have fed tens of thousands of American children during the pandemic. They were reimbursed for those meals by taxpayers. However, federal prosecutors found that almost all of those meals were never even delivered to hungry children. In fact, those organizations' leaders spent the money on houses, luxury cars, and real estate in Turkey and Kenya.
Wow. You want to talk about it? Yeah, they're all there. There's just, it's not all of them, just some of them.
Yeah, they're robbing.
They're all ball bad. It's it's all right.
That is so old and tired. That trope. Yeah, but you can't blame the whole group for just a few.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, you can. Yeah,
you can.
Right. Absolutely.
Well, I mean, look. I mean, when you statistically, when they cover violent offenses, and we realize what's going on in this country on how they're labeling, all right, brown and black people, white, dark, something like that, so they can mask and cover the percentage of violent kills in this country and stuff, you'll see it's like 60%. The recidivism rate is through the roof. but you wouldn't know it the way they're coding these people in. They're masking it. So, I mean, this is the discussion that we have, what's going on, Erica. We've got enough crime in this country where enough people just go in and out of jail. Now we're just having all this import crime. It's all over the place. That's been here. Now you're just seeing it and being exposed on a daily basis. And that's what it's about. Now, I mean, people are getting arrested. I mean, how many of these people, are there going to be more people? I wonder what's going to happen in Little Somalia. How many more people are going to be activated? We'll find out. I'm not really sure. Let's look at this. I saw this in Citizen Free Press. This was good. Yeah, new ad from ICE and DHS. Deport yourself, save the hassle.
And tap your heels together 3 times. And think to yourself, there's no place like home.
There's no place like Somalia.
Like home. There's no
Niger.
place like home. Close your eyes.
I love it. These memes are great. And it just pisses them off. It pisses off the media every time they put these memes out, but it's great. Self-deport or face the consequences. Yep. I mean, Marshall, it's just brilliant.
Yeah, it is funny. And one, I think it was Trump one.
Yeah.
They said read the post that Kristi Noem just posted where she just met with the president. And she's recommending that a total travel ban on all the countries flooding our nation and all that.
Oh, that's that.
So,
I mean, you figured that was coming. She had mentioned it the other night. Thank you, Thea, for the phone. Wood USA dropping 817 gold pills. Dirt slop. Oh, you like that name? That's what we're living with.
Goy slop.
Goy slop, dirt slop, all this slop. Pig slop, you name it.
Yeah, it's all slop.
over the place. It's all over the place. Eat some
Somali
bacon tomorrow. Eat some bacon in support of your country. Yeah, I mean, look, the bottom line is that this stuff that we're facing right now, this is just being recovered, rediscovered, uncovered so everybody can see that it's not just this and that. It's a whole group of people. You're starting to see the fracture of this facade, this lie, the multicultural relativism. It's garbage. It's out the door. Migration is the new replacement. Out the door. It's now what? Counter migration, re-immigration. It's what? Resettlement. All these people are going home. You can't stay here. And people are seeing it. And if you don't go home and you broke the law, well, you're never going to be able to come back. So you might as well self-deport. I have no empathy for these people. I'm not crying for these people. I don't care about these people. You think these people care about you? They want to be you. They want to murder you. They want to kill you. They want to take your job. Do you understand that? Do you understand what I'm saying? These people don't care about you. If they did, it would be a different story. All right? They wouldn't be robbing, stealing, murdering left and right. I don't feel bad for any of these people whatsoever. I don't. And I know that's horrible to say. It's Christmas around the time and stuff. You know what? I don't really care. Who weeps for who? For all these American citizens that were murdered, raped, and killed. Okay? What about Sarah Beckstrom? You think any of these illegals are weeping for her? They go on all these TikTok videos and saying, and they're all clapping and applauding her death. It's disgusting. It makes me sick. And it makes me angry. And now I understand why Trump is. Look, that's why he was. I don't know if he was waiting for this. If it was a prognostication, it was a harbinger. Was he foretelling this? But this whole thing, you knew it was coming. You knew something like this was going to happen. Look at how many attacks ICE is facing on a daily basis. And this is only going to get worse.
That's where the military is going to have to come in.
You're going to need an escalation. You're going to need an escalating force, all right, to what? Repel borders. And that means live rounds. That means live rounds. Okay? So Minnesota DHS worker blames dishonest Governor Tim Walz for a massive fraud, 100% responsible. I'm not going to go into this much. Damning quote, Tim Walz's failure to stop fraud consuming Minnesota. No one was doing anything about the red flags. He said it was like someone was stealing money from the cookie jar, and they kept refilling it. Yeah, he signed off on it. 100% responsible. Look at this. Department of Health and Human Services X page on Saturday. The group claimed it alerted Governor Walz to the fraud in early stages of its discovery, but allegedly retaliated against the whistleblowers. As you said, Trusty Turnham, 100% responsible for massive fraud. Yeah, it's all going to fall on him. Tim Walz knew of the fraud early on, hopping on for a partnership and stopping the fraud, but no, we got the opposite response. Wall systematically retaliate against the whistleblowers? Of course. And now he's going to pay a price. He's going to get the FBI, Justice Department. Look, there are many mayors and governors that are going to be arrested for the simple thing for doing exactly what he's done. All right. You think Pritzker, you think Newsom, all these people, they're all done. They're all finished. You just haven't seen that movie play out yet. That's the movie I want to see. All right. I want to see these people in handcuffs. Or they take off. How about if they flee? How about that one? That'll be a good one.
I would like to see them get caught right in the airport.
Yeah.
When
Where are you going? I'm going overseas to China because I've been there 100 times and they invited me back over there.
But they get their passport gets flagged, so they're not allowed on the
I bet
plane.
you all of them are flagged right now. They're not leaving this country. So Mark Kelly, the fake and gay astronaut, just said no illegal orders were given from the president of the United States. He flat out admits it. Where these strikes illegal, everybody's going batshit crazy because Hegg said, suppose he said this, which he didn't say, and the admiral took out a second shot onto these boats and blew them up. Blew them to hell. We're at war. We're under 5 national emergencies. 5. Remember that. We're at war. If you don't understand that, well, then no, I can't help you. All right? The media wants to spin it. This is all illegal. Shouldn't be doing this. Do you understand what's going on? We still have the Patriot Act. We're still dealing with what? The global war on terrorism. It's at a back door. What if Venezuela, and I said it, last week, the week before, what if they had a nuclear missile? What if they bought a nuclear missile off the black market? What if someone gave it to them? And they're right there in our back door. I don't think anybody's thinking about that. Based on who this president is, who the Secretary of War is, Trump said past things he was talking about doing in the future, literally non-answer. He was just making it worse. Sedition, not to be tolerated. Listen to this. Yeah.
Were these sort of strikes that are now in the news what you were making reference to when you posted that video telling members of the military that they needed to feel okay just obeying orders that they felt were illegal?
Based on who this president is and who the Secretary of Defense is, and specifically things that the president has said in the past.
So wait a minute. He's saying he's spinning this now. All right, you can see how he's spinning it. Thank you, Trustee Turner, for the cookie. Yeah, arrest this bald-headed douchebag. Look, he's spinning it. And now he's walking it back. He looks frightened. Someone put him up there to say, hey, look, man, you better walk this back very soon. You're going to get a knock on your door. I wouldn't be surprised if they're already looking at this per se. And I don't care that he's backpedaling here. All right? It doesn't matter that he's backpedaling. What he said, it's too late. You can't walk this back.
Things he was talking about doing in the future. Let me give you an example. 2016.
So now he's predicting something in the future.
Oh, God.
He's talking about something on a debate stage that was clearly illegal. And he was reminded by Brett Baer from Fox News that that would be an illegal order. Military won't do that. You know what the president's response was to that? The military will not refuse my orders. Implying that even if they are illegal, they will not refuse them. He's also talked about shooting protesters in the legs. Then he's talking about deploying more troops to American cities and using those cities as training grounds. Do you know what that means? That means using the American people for the military to train on. So we were looking forward.
That's already happened, and that was happening in Ukraine. They were testing out all. What do you think the $350 billion? And you understand the number one guy, Zelensky's guy, you see how that PSYOP was set in place that, he took out the $100 billion or $100 million, and that's why Zelensky is going to be deposed, a new incoming government. That whole thing was a setup from the beginning. And you hear Mark Kelly saying, this was a training ground. What do you think Ukraine was? What do you think was going on there with drones and all these other things that were happening there? That was a systematic training ground for new technology. Yeah. Look, there's no way of walking this back. And everything he's saying right now, he's opening his mouth to a bigger implication by yet again asserting President Trump was suggesting this or maybe pointing to that in the past, okay? With really no good evidence to say one way or another. Again, he's making his case even worse for himself. Instead of not like talking and saying, I made a mistake, I should walk it back. But he's doubled down. He's double dealing right now. And the media is just falling for it, and it's okay.
To try to head something off at the pass that could have been really, really bad. So it wasn't about this specific thing. Yeah.
Jennifer Shutt with State's Newsroom. The NDAA conference report is set to come out later this week, over the weekend, or early next week. In addition to that, you all have not yet conferenced out the defense appropriations bill for the current fiscal year.
All right, that's enough of that. But see, he didn't apologize in any way. All he did was use other examples to make a suggestion and hint again and double down. And maybe to theorize that, well, it's a possibility he was going to do this, or maybe in the future pretense or portents he was going to do this at another time period, which he didn't do. So again, what are you saying? Are you saying, Mark Kelly, that he's still going to do it and it doesn't matter? Because I didn't see that as an apology. I didn't see that as backpedaling. He was making excuses to cover his own ass because he knows he's in deep shit. And the bottom line is that there's a good chance that the UCMJ is going to file charges against him and bring him up for a court-martial. And they probably should. You can't let this go, Marshall. If you let this go, this is a failure on the Secretary of War and the Secretary of Navy. Bring up these charges. You have to show, all right, there's rules of engagement. There is a code. There's a military justice code. And if you don't follow it, you should be penalized.
Yeah, this guy, you know, they always do this. They talk about things that Trump said. Well, Trump didn't do anything, though. He could say a lot of, Trump says stuff all the time, but they act like he did something. He actually made a physical, you know, action when it's just his words. So they do this all the time with his words. They use it as like it's a physical action.
Yeah.
And this guy's nothing but to me, he's a reptilian shapeshifter. This guy's weird as hell. He's a strange dude, man.
I don't understand what he's saying, how he's covering his own ass, but he's in deep trouble.
He's scared for sure.
I mean, he's definitely scared. That's why he's up there answering these questions again. That's why you see Governor Waltz up there answering these questions. They know they're treading a thin line here in some way that it all is going to tie back. And if you have whistleblowers that you went against and the whistleblowers come back out to the FBI or the Justice Department, he's in deep trouble. And they have evidence to prove it. Yeah, look, Waltz, he's done. Kamala Harris ain't running again. I can tell you right now, because if he gets implicated and arrested, well, that's your guy that you picked as your vice president. Yeah, what does that say about you? White House unveils a website targeting media's bias coverage. This is fantastic. New online section ranks journalists and outlets as it claims to misrepresent President Trump. The official, let me blow this up. This was great. This was asked today. The official White House website has launched a new section dedicated to denouncing media outlets and journalists it accuses of bias and misleading reporting. Media reports titled Misleading, Bias Exposed. The page lists stories and it claims misrepresented President Trump. This is fantastic. It's kind of like on X, you know, when you say something that's inappropriate or wrong, or let's just say you misspoke about something, it corrects you. All right. This is exactly what it's doing here, and it's on the White House page, particularly those concerning Democrat lawmakers and military, according to The Guardian. Boston Globe, CBS News, The Independent were labeled media offenders of the week over coverage over 6 Democrats who released a video urging military personnel not to follow legal orders. Wow. Trump had blasted Democrats on actions, seditious behavior, punishable by death, and reposted a statement calling to hang them. Democrat and fake news media subversively implied the president had issued illegal orders to service members. Every order President Trump has issued has been lawful, according to the light. I mean, this is great. This is another way that the normies, NPCs can catch up. If you want to understand what's taking place, this is another way of deconstructing the fake news media, the Mockingbird media, that basically is now on full blast. They are out attacking everything they can. They're utilizing this, and maybe in some way, they're separating themselves from Mark Kelly and Slotkin because they know in some way these people are fruit of the poisonous tree, and you want to stay far away from them because in some way, if you are engaging them and allowing this rhetoric to continue, you could be held as liable too. And I think so because you could be fostering the same narrative that you could be brought up on charges, especially if they go after Kelly and Slotkin. I'm not really sure about Slotkin, but is he going to be brought up on charges? You think the Secretary of Navy, or in this case, Secretary of War, Hegseth, is basically going to say, yeah, we have to do this?
I don't know if that's going to happen. I think it may happen in a different way as when everything comes together. Mm-hmm. Not just like picking them out and going and getting them. I think it may happen when this whole operation really takes place, and we're under when
Right.
he
It's
when
not
he
going to happen now. That's what you're saying, but
yeah,
in the
yeah.
future.
And I do believe that all of this stuff is trying to get the critical mass of all these normies out there, the critical mass, so that they can understand, accept it, realize it, and not freak out when all this stuff starts to hit the
I don't
fan.
know if it's going to change hearts and minds. I'll be
Well,
honest
it
with
may
you. There,
change some. I
it
mean,
may wake up people when the shit goes down, but I don't really see it
yeah.
where you're going to wake up. There are people that are just stuck in their position, and I think that it's going to be really hard for people to come out of their TDS, IDS, or whatever derangement syndrome they have, that they can possibly, say, oh my God, this person was really doing this, or this person was really doing this. That's a very big logical leap to a conclusion that you can formulate and say, hey, that these people will snap out of it in some way under this spell that they have. I don't know if it's.
I mainly mean the conservatives that are just kind of sleepwalking, that don't know what's going on. The other ones, I don't have any hope for them. On the left, forget it.
Yeah, I think there's just, like I said, I think it's more than 20% that are gone. That
Yeah.
are just gone.
Toast.
And you just basically have to look at them that, whatever happens, happens. I mean, and move on from that. That's the way I look at it. Home is where the heart is. America's Christmas. The Christmas, let's celebrate the love we hold. Yes, I think we're all waiting for Melania's Christmas. I know I was after last year's of a carnival ride of what I saw.
Range.
This is what I like. I like tradition. I like elegance. This is beautiful. See, this is class. This is style. Look at them. Look at those bulbs, man. How much do those things cost?
Wow, man.
So each room, blue room, green room, excellent job.
So classy, man.
Yep. I mean, after last year's carnival ride that we saw with these like circus clowns and trannies, and I don't know what they were trying. Were they trying to do a big top Christmas? Because that's what it felt like in some way. And it was just odd. It was
bizarre,
scary.
man.
It was really bizarre. It was really dark. Yeah. There was nothing about it that I saw that was like whatever, but it was just embarrassing.
It didn't remind me of Christmas at all, man. It was kind of like a nightmare, like the scary clown type.
No, I know. Thank you, Thea, for the shades. This guy's headed for a tribunal, hopefully. Thank you, Trump one, for the cookie. Thea for the cookie. Trusty Turner, thank you for the cookie. And Thea for the can. Thank you so much. Like, share, and subscribe. You can help out Marshall. Ko-fi.com/surfdog74. Let me continue on. All right, so I'm going to go into other stuff because I have so much more here. But let me just jump to, so we can move on. We'll talk about weekend at Nicolas's. All right, maybe we'll just get to that. I just wanted to cover this. President Trump calling in. I think this was important. If you live in Nashville, all right, there's a race that's going on tomorrow, I believe it is. It's a special election. I think you need to, if you're in Nashville, you need to vote. It's very important for that Republican to win. I think his name is Van App. Let's play this.
Taxes on top of everything else. But she said two things above all else that bothered me. Number one, she hates Christianity. Number two, she hates country music. How the hell can you elect a person like that? So I just want to give my total support, and he's had it right from the beginning, to Matt Van Apps. He's going to be a fantastic congressman. He's going to represent you so well, and we'll keep our agenda going. And I'm going to make a call tonight about 7 or 8 o'clock. I'm doing a tele-rally for him tonight. So if anybody wants to listen, basically I'll be saying the same things I just said. He's fantastic, and go get him and get out tomorrow morning, get out and vote, and let's make it a sweeping victory. The whole world is watching Tennessee right now, and they're watching your district. The whole world. It's a big vote. It's going to show something. and it's got to show that the Republican Party is stronger than it's
All right,
ever been.
President
We have a
Trump live at the rally with.
Yeah, just interrupt him. There you go.
Yeah, that was so rude, man.
I know. It's just like, yeah, just interrupt President Trump at the rally and stuff. All right. Well, I mean, that's what's taking place. Amidst other things that he has to do, he's got to do a tele rally for the congressman because, you know, these seats, you know, there's not much of a margin left. And I think there is something to be said about that and understand that. Daily Signal put this out, and I thought this was a good thing. I wanted to cover it because this is important, the special election in Tennessee, in Nashville. Yeah, I see that, Trusty Turnip. Yeah, Ben is it Ben or Bine is a piece of shit garbage liar. Yeah,
what a trashy.
She hates Christians. She says it. She said it multiple times. She thinks Christianity is a lie. She doesn't like country music. She said that's all for hicks. She says they're all people who have no education. She's actually said a lot of stuff. And I'm like, of course, that's, you know, the Democrats run around that. They love that shit. They love that shit. Seriously. Tennessee House race, a bellwether for Trump. Not going to read too much. To the great people of Tennessee, 7th District, who gave me a record-setting win. If you're in the 7th District and you got to vote for Van Epps. Vote for Matt Van Epps, Trump said. Van Epps, the Republican nominee, is running to replace Mark Green because another coward who basically just left early. He actually left for a cushy job. I forget with a military industrial complex or a pharmaceutical company. The Daily Signal depends on this. Trump also heaps scoring after Afton Ben. Is that her? Who names these people? Afton Ben. That's, I guess, her name. The Democrat Tennessee representative seeking to upset the district Republicans. I mean, it's just nuts. I mean, Matt is fighting against a woman who hates Christianity, wants to take your guns away. Oh, there you go. Open borders, transgender. There you go. All that wonderful stuff. Again, towing a line. I don't even want to look at this broad. Afton Ben is her name. I don't. Is Afton a real name? I mean, I've never heard of that before. Have you ever heard anybody named Afton? Let me know in the chat. All right.
I've never heard it before. It's strange.
Okay, let's move on. So here's Liberty Nation. Puts this out. We'll just cover Venezuela because we're going to get into it. I really want to cover this. So Liberty Nation, what to do about Venezuela? The war on drugs wasn't a real until President Trump made it about. I think a lot of people are oversimplifying. It's about drugs. That's how the media is painting this. But they forget that this is so much far bigger. And I think President Trump should tell the American public about what's going on there, at least give them some idea. All right. And I think in some way it might be so serious that he can't at the moment. And I think it's largely due to terrorism. There's a possibility that it might have some type of nuclear weapon or radiological bomb. They might be armed to the T. There might be some really serious bad stuff going on there. And we don't know how many people snuck in this country. We don't know how many people are part of this trans global national organization that's operating with Iran and many other countries in there. We know that China and Russia have backed away of helping out Venezuela now. We don't know if Maduro is going to dip out. He disappeared, went to Brazil for a while, then came back, popped his head up, like the rat he is. I don't know. I don't know what to really make of it, but the strategy is threefold. Venezuela appears to be applying targeted sanctions to designate and treat the cartels using Venezuela as a sanctuary for a foreign terrorist organization. There you go. And intimidate Maduro dictatorship with a clear demonstration of U.S. military might. A series of executive orders applying sanctions on Venezuela during Trump's first term reestablished his second term. All U.S. held assets of designated Venezuelans and enterprises are frozen. Wow. Such as 25% tariff on exports from countries that import the oil. The sanctions are broadly implemented across the board range of financial markets, including bans on transactions and the Venezuelan government-issued digital currencies, prohibitions of U.S. citizen financing Venezuelan debt, and restrictions on the access of U.S. markets. The cartels singled out, particularly troublesome, are the Cartel de Sols, or Cartel of the Suns. Trinidad, the Suns are loosely organized with the alliance of high-ranking military officials, officers, and regime inside has turned Venezuelan military organization into a criminal enterprise. As Inside Crime, Weekly News Digest focused on organizing crime, the Venezuelan military's most frequent role in drug trafficking has been to guarantee the safe passage of cocaine shipments, as well as authorize the arrival and departure of aircraft carrying drugs to other countries. Now, I mean, now he's limited the airspace. I'm not going to go into this too much, but you need to understand is that what they are doing, they are facilitators. They're allowing this orchestration to take place. They're probably getting a cut from all these different groups per se, or the transnational globalists were part of this in some way, and they're getting kickbacks. All right, the oils might be traded for drugs or weapons or other things. So the intervention here is far greater than we can possibly know. The key to understanding is that the terrorism element has risen. It's a lot bigger than we think. We don't know what they're transporting. We don't know what's in those boats that they're blowing up in some way. But there's a reason why they don't want to interdict with them in some way. Think about this. What happens if these boats are carrying weapons? Okay? Bombs that will hit the ship or something like that, or carrying fentanyl that could poison it. And you want to send the Coast Guard or some other ships over there that affect the military in some way, that cause a hazard. We don't know if there's a chemical weapon there. That's why they're blowing them out. They don't want to have anything to do with it. If they are leaving these areas and stuff, they want to make sure they're not going to harm any military, Navy members, at sea, Marines, you name it, anybody at all. So they want to make sure they're removing the opportunity from these people coming close to the ships or having to escape in some way to come back and harm later on. It might be worse than that. Think about that and understanding what happened. What was the ship in 99 before 2001 that got hit and 30 sailors were killed under Clinton? What was that ship that got blown up?
I forget. I know it blew up the side of the ship.
Something. I forget what it was. It
barely limped back.
32 people were killed on that because you had these little ships
boat pulled up next to it
and blew it up. I mean, so that's what we have to contend with. And they're not even covering that in that manner. But I think it's something to think about. And so the media is pushing back on Hexit. The government right now, let's just say, senators and congressmen, they want his head in some way. They think what he's doing is a violation of the law. And then, of course, he's trolling them and doing this, which is fantastic. I'll show you this. Brixit put this out. This is just fantastic. I mean, you gotta love it. That's exactly what's happening. You don't want these boats carrying whatever they're closest to our ships or submarines or any level. You don't know what's on there. You don't know if they're radiological bombs. You don't know if they're missiles. You don't know what's on there. You don't know if they're carrying fentanyl or some biological weapon. You don't know. And you don't want them, hitting our ships or coming near our ships and our servicemen on those ships, period, the end. And so they're just blowing them out of the sky, and I got no problem with that. And you know what? I don't really care. Again, another scenario where I don't really give a shit about these people getting blown out. I don't. Most of these people in some way are part of a terrorist organization, and that's the way we should look at them. All right? You wouldn't put 20 ships there plus. What is it? 20 ships, close to that, 15,000 servicemen there, some ridiculous amount, and then blockading them from the other way so China and Russia don't interdict in some way to send relief or other weapons or arms and stuff. Marshall, your thoughts? I mean, I think most people are not really recognizing the greater. I think the media is just downplaying this in such a way or overplaying their hand about what is actually taking place because no one really knows for sure. No one knows for sure.
Well, and as a footnote, with all of this going on in that part of the Caribbean and our southern hemisphere, is that Honduras, they elected a Trump-supported president. So that was great. He's like Malay from Argentina. So that's good. And the only thing I would have wished is instead of a turtle, that guy in the helicopter that Head Seth posted should have been a Pepe frog.
Yeah.
That would have been great. But it's still funny as shit.
No,
and they're melting down over it. They're melting down over it.
Oh, they know.
That's terrible. How can you do that?
It doesn't matter. With the looming possibility of attacks, Maduro might have fled to Brazil. We know that if he went to Brazil, he's back. As a last effort to avoid being captured, President Trump spoke with them. So I think he's back in Venezuela. He's not gone. The aircraft YV-2984 is part of Venezuela's regime fleet, has already been subject to U.S. sanctions in March. The aircraft was included in the sanctions Office of Foreign Assets Control in the United States. This means it could be seized if it enters U.S. allied territory. There's an opportunity where Maduro might be allowed in exile to go to Russia, go to Iran. I don't know about that, but he might be able to go there with him and his family if he surrenders power in some way. You know, we just don't know enough. And I want to be honest about that to say that. We could speculate to the hilt, But President Trump is playing this very close to the chest. And you know what? You could look at it in some way as a psyop, a misop that's happening there and forcing them to surrender what's going on, especially with the firepower there, the fleet of planes, and, you know, maybe seizing control of our southern hemisphere, because you got to think about what's going on in Brazil, what's going on in other countries per se, in the Caribbean. I mean, we might have such a bad problem down there and not recognizing the infiltration by China, Russia, Iran, the training terrorist groups, all the stuff that has been taking place. It might be so much bigger than we know. They're not putting it out for a reason. And the media is not really covering it. They're not really giving you information per se, but I've heard a lot of people say the same thing. President Trump should come out and address the nation about this because of the seriousness of that, because a lot of people are intimating the idea it appears to be that they might be in possession of chemical or biological or nuclear weapons. And if that is true, we need to know about it. And I think that's really what's really going to come, push comes to shove.
I think that's what it is, Brett. I mean,
Yeah,
it ain't just the drugs. Part of it, the drug is that's the lead, that's the cover story. That's the headline.
Right.
But the real story behind it, the real narrative, the real truth is, we've got a big threat down there. And that's right on our shores.
It's a lot worse than we think it is. I think it's a lot worse than we think it is. And I think that we don't know what Maduro has in connection. Would his surrender lead to some type of interdiction? I mean, what would change from his surrender? That's what we need to understand. How would his surrender, his forced surrender, all right, lead and change in some way? What else will it do? Will he give up information? What is it that he is required to do that we're asking him to, not just to flee and leave? All right. What about all the generals that are going to be there? I mean, yeah, I think it's about information. I think it's about other things that are involved. Nicolas Maduro has reappeared after being out of the public view for 5 days, putting paid to rumors that he'd fled the country. Maduro 63 presented prizes, gave remarks, annual coffee awards. A lot of this stuff seems to me in some way, you see him dancing and all these other things, seems like a psyop. It does. It seems like this whole thing's a psyop. And we're not really knowing what's going on. There's no reporters embedded down there. You don't see anybody going down there. Venezuela's economy was indestructible, untouchable, unbeatable. Prior to that, the most recent sign of Maduro's whereabouts have been Wednesday, when he posted a video of him driving around Caracas on his Telegram channel. I mean, it's almost comical in some way. But this can be seen as an act of defiance, where Maduro made a point of appearing in public in reply to President Trump's pressuring on him to step down. I mean, it's either one of two things. This whole thing, we're being gaslit about in some way. That this is something that, could be because of the CIA. Maybe they want to release some hostages. There's a possibility of that they were captured and we're playing this out. I don't know. But I'm concerned about what other people are suggesting is that the island of Margarita, many other people have discuss this. They think that there's something far more sinister that's enveloping there that we need to be made aware of. But I don't think we're going to be told this, because it might scare the shit out of us. It might panic people. And I don't think they want to do this at this moment. I'm not really sure. But you can't send that many troops, a carrier fleet group down there. What, 14 ships, 20 ships?
It's an armada, man. I mean,
it's amazing how much stuff is there. Yeah, we're blocked off Puerto Rico, a lot of the Caribbean, a lot of this stuff is just locked down. Is it part of the trafficking snatch up? Probably. I mean, it could be there. I believe so, Brett, the exposure to the election fraud. Well, yeah, many people have intimated that idea. That's a good one. That I've read articles and people discuss this. Now, we can't prove this one way. Thank you, Super D, for the cookie. And Thea, thank you for the cookie. I don't know, Trump one, if you can prove that this area is a hotbed of controlling 30 plus countries. I was reading elections. So you're saying that the reason we're down there is because there's a hotbed of activity that they have power to control elections of 30 countries. Flip the switch in some way. That's amazing. How did they get that? Who installed that? Who put that there? Who put that there? Obviously Dominion. Many other organizations per se, NGOs or what have you. If that's it too, I've read that too. I don't know if that's part of this per se. I mean, you would think considering we have an election coming up next year, that they'd want to clean that out before the election happens and control that if that is true. But again, like I said, it's a lot of speculation on the part, Marshall.
Yeah, I think there's a whole lot more. We would not have a whole carrier group basically down there.
No.
When you've got all the support, the aircraft. I mean, an aircraft carrier. When was not in my whole life, Brett, have I ever seen an American aircraft carrier in the Caribbean right here south of us. Never. I've never seen that.
Well, I think the Panama Panama '89 that happened when they got Noriega. I don't know if they had a carrier.
That wasn't that wasn't.
Yeah.
And this is bigger than the Cuban Missile, which we
Yeah.
were not.
It does feel like this is more of an embargo.
This is a big deal.
And this also brings in Cuba into play. We have to think about what this is. It's not just Puerto Rico, Venezuela, Brazil, our hemisphere. You got to think Cuba is involved too. We're not there yet, but this brings in Cuba per se. I believe so. That's another thing that's scary as well, how close they are to Florida. But, like I said, the limited amount of information that is being processed and put out there is the same thing like what we get from Ukraine. We just get varying discussions about how people are viewing this from what they hear, not what they know from inside sources. But again, we cannot imply in any way. I mean, if the threat is real, and this pertains to Puerto Rico, the Caribbean, Venezuela, Cuba, that there is training facilities down there, armed terrorists, and maybe have some type of, let's just say, weapons that they obtain in some way, that is a scary sight. And then I'll leave it at that. All right, moving on, because we got a little bit more to go and then we're done. All right, so this is Mediaite. Hey, Sean, fuck you. Tim Dillon goes ballistic on scumbag Secretary Duffy for telling travelers to dress up on flights. We'll listen to this. I'm going to push back on this a little bit. I'm going to push back about it. So Tim Dillon says one person will not be following Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy's plea for Americans to dress up for better flights. The comic absolutely shredded Duffy on the latest episode of the podcast, telling him to shut the F up and fix the unending hell of traveling in the USA before giving fashion tips. Okay, let's listen to this.
This Sean Duffy, this guy who's running the travel thing, goes, how Americans turned flying into a cesspool transportation. Secretary Sean Duffy urges travelers to dress up and be in a good mood. Hey, Sean, fuck you. Hey, fuck you, by the way. Shut the fuck up. How about you get the planes in the fucking sky, you scumbag, and shut the fuck up. I'm sick of being lectured by this fucking government that knows nothing about what's actually happening out there, okay? First of all, the whole entire experience of travel has become an unending hell.
I agree with that, but it's been like that a long time before the Trump administration got there. All right. And then the last 4 years of the Biden administration under Buttigieg and all this money that went there, where did it go? They didn't fix anything. They didn't automate anything. And it takes a while to do this. Yes, he can't control the traveling per se. You got weather that's inclement. You got a variety of different factors in there. Airline traffic airline travel in general is a disgrace. It's been like that for a long time. They pack you in like sardines. They're like planes now will be standing room only. I mean, it's ridiculous. Who wants to stand on a 4-hour flight? I mean, look, when you really look about it, the airline industry in itself needs to be deregulated and it has to be privatized. It's the only way you're going to solve the travel, the TSA, all these different elements that are inside. You have to privatize this. It's the only way things are going to change. The government, even though they're going to automate this, update this with AI, that will make it faster. They have to make sure they have more planes there on the ground. Think about how many planes there are. Think about how many airlines there are. There's not enough. So the thing is, I understand what Dylan's saying. I get what he's saying. It's frustrating enough to fly. I get it in some way. It sucks. It sucks for the rest of it. I don't like flying. You know what? Don't bitch and moan, if you're going to fly. Don't bitch and moan if you're going to fly. It's like this. It's been like this for a long time. Is it Duffy's fault? No, it's not his fault. But he does have a point. There are certain rules and regulations. You should dress up. in some way. Don't wear your freaking underwear on the plane. You know, don't wear sandals. You know, at least don't look like you just got out of bed. Because what's taking place, you know, the idea is that, you know, you are what you eat, who you hang out with, and, you know, what you look like. Think about that in some way. Have a little class, have a little respect for yourself. You know what? And maybe that treatment in some way will fall back onto you. And I think it's disgraceful that this fat fuck would say this in this matter and, you know, blame him for what's taking place. He has no idea who Sean Duffy is, number one. Number two, he wants to blame the administration because he's hating on the administration for a lot of stuff. But President Trump's not even been in there 11 months. 11 months. And they're doing the best they can with everything that's going on. And blaming them for what has taken place over the last 4 years, maybe longer, all right? People like this need to wake up and smell what they're shoveling, because I'm sick and tired of the nonsense that you're waking up and saying it's his fault or it's this fault. The airline industry has sucked for decades, all right? We've had problems with the air traffic controllers for a long time. And since DEI and all this other stuff that has taken place, is it really his fault? No, it's under his watch. He's got to fix it. They're trying to remove all these people and get new people in there. But listen, you know what? My advice, don't fly then. If you're going to bitch and moan about it, don't fly. I don't like flying. I don't like getting on a plane. I refuse to get on one. I do. I'd rather drive 12 hours, stop off, rest, go to a hotel, take a shower, take a shit, go have a scotch. Yeah, I'd rather do that. I don't want to fly 5 hours cramped in next to someone who smells like fucking ass because they just woke up out of bed and they can't put deodorant on. Who wants to take their socks off and like what? Have their feet breathe. But he wants to blame Duffy for that. And this fat fuck, he's got to take up 2 seats. So what's he bitching about? You know what? Ride first class or what? Go on these private planes if you could afford it. You know, I think the hypocrisy and the opportunism that happens a lot with a lot of these people, I don't blame Sean Duffy. I know that Doge and all these other implementations, it might be so bad, the airline industry behind the scenes, that you don't even want to know. You probably wouldn't even want to get on a plane knowing how bad it is. Let me continue.
Okay? Everybody is understaffed. There are delays at all the major airports. The airports are old. They've fallen into disrepair.
Why is that? Whose fault is that? Whose fault is that? I mean, honestly, whose fault is that? I mean, the last 4 years of the Biden administration, where did all that money go to upgrade the airports? This is the problem. Homeland Secretary Mayorkas, under his watch, TSA, under his watch, this is the problem. Needs to be privatized. The infrastructure has to be retooled top to bottom, and a private enterprise has to come in and take this over. That's the only way that this is going to move more smoothly and efficiently. We have to take it to the next level of traveling, because the way traveling is today is 20th century outdated garbage. It is. But we're 40 years in the future, and this stuff hasn't been automated and updated. I wonder why that is.
The planes are old. The pilots are underpaid. The staff is underpaid. It's a horrible experience, Sean. It's a bad fucking experience. Let's watch him. Let's watch this guy and fuck him.
All right, so he goes on, Marshall, to attack him in some way and stuff. And look, I'll play devil's advocate here. I disagree that it's Sean Duffy's fault. I totally disagree. When you had this full-on trans homo fat, whatever this guy was, okay, butt boy, the Secretary of Transportation for the last 4 years, what did he do? What roads were fixed? What was done as Secretary of Transportation, okay, at that time with Pete Buttigieg? I mean, whatever happened with him? And you're not calling him out? Duffy's not even been there, 8 months? And you're attacking him? And they're doing the fast they can to automate this stuff? I just don't like people to be hypocrites and opportunists at the same time. You want to blame everything on this administration, but you don't want to make, the discussion of what took place the last 4 years. It's embarrassing.
Privatization is the only way to go. The government doesn't do a good job at anything other than the military. That's always been the case. I would liken it to the airlines need to carnivalize themselves, like Carnival Cruises.
Yeah.
Carnival Cruises found out the hard way that giving away unlimited drinks and unlimited food creates a ghetto cruise.
Yeah.
And then it got ghettoized and fed up fights are everywhere.
Right.
People are drunk and causing all. Then they had to start cutting it off and saying you can only this amount of drinks. You can only do this. Bop bop. You can't. That's what the airlines need to do, and they need to be held accountable. They need to run it like you said. The whole thing needs to be privatized, and it will solve itself. The market will
The
heal it.
security effort of privatizing will be better because you'll have new innovation,
should be
new
gone.
technology. Yeah, TSA's got to go. I mean, you don't need that. You get private security in there that are over. I think that's the way to go with these airline industries. I mean, you could still have Homeland oversee the airport, but privatizing the security and everything else that follows in, that would be a different story. I don't know. You might need to corporatize it in some way, especially with the airline industries
Yeah,
getting
they
more
should all be
efficient
part of it.
travel. Yeah, I mean, more efficient
All the
travel.
airlines. Yeah.
Yeah. How about, yeah, exactly. I mean, we need more efficient travel in a lot of ways. We need better ways of transportation. That's my attitude about where I'm saying. Maybe, eventually that we'll go away from this and we can have teleportation. That would be fantastic.
And
Would
they
you
created
teleport?
and they created dress code,
Yeah.
a code of behavior
Yeah.
and all that. None
Yeah,
of
you
this
don't dress like
ghetto
a fat
shit.
slob. You just fucking toilet paper hanging out of your ass. And you just woke up in the morning. I mean, that's the bottom line. And I think Duffy is right. Because if you see some of these people,
They're
take a
slobs.
shower before you get on a plane. I mean, honestly. I mean, yes, it is.
They're wearing
And so
Walmart.
again, basically you're just slopping a bunch of pigs into a tin can and you're flying them hoping the thing doesn't crash because you got air traffic controllers that were, hung over the next night and they're doing nose candy on the Bowie Coke mirror and they're, coming to work late because they weren't getting paid a month. Whose fault is that? Who shut down the government? But blame it on Duffy like it's his fault. See, that's the problem with hypocrisy. It's that's what really that bothers me. It's really bothersome when people really don't think that out. It's like, oh, we just assign blame. Yeah, the guy's a big fat foul mouth turd. His words are useless. Yeah, I mean, that's my point. It's like, what is he bitching about? What is he bitching about? It's not like all of a sudden transportation fell apart in an airline industry. It's been going on for a while. You know what I'm saying? This didn't happen overnight, and you're just blaming Duffy? Come on. You know what? We are everywhere. This is tonight's show. Fort Bragg Psychological Warfare Group posts chilling information. Let's see this. Let's see if I can do this. Okay. So this comes out from Zero Hedge. Secretive Fort Bragg operation that specializes in influencing people's thoughts have released hypnotic recruitment video that is laced with hidden meanings and strange messages. Known as the Fort Psychological Operations Airborne, or Fort PSYOP, the group specializes in using the power of the mind to persuade opinion and discourse among the nation's enemies. I think people know what this is. Let's play this, but I just saw this, and they put this article out not even a day or two ago, and they're covering this.
Goddamn army.
There's another force applied in combat that we generally don't think of as a weapon of war. That weapon is words. Words are weapons.
Telling the truth is the only way in which to influence people.
This is psychological warfare.
Yeah, Curious Cat. I thought the first one was better. I agree with that. But I'm just covering because they put this out, and I just saw this. Let me continue on. It says the 1 minute 117 second clip posted November 19th on social media is a string of baffling clips, including old cartoons, mass figures hiding in plain sight, and a group of people staring blankly at the viewer over the phrase, "We are everywhere." There's another force applied in combat that we generally don't think is a weapon of war. That weapon is words. Words are weapons. This is psychological warfare. The video then beckons join the PSYOP. As of November 26th, the video has racked up more than 15,000 views on Facebook, hundreds of comments and reactions, noting it goes hard with subliminal messaging. Among the surprises found, reference to conspiracy theories, the ghost army that deceived the Nazi generals in World War II, and the popular Pepe Frog GIF that shows up in a clown suit. At one point, the phrase, "anything we touch is a weapon," flashes and fades. Watch over it over and again. Great little nuggets of information. A lot of crumb drops in this one that Jason wrote on Instagram. I think you all have so much fun at work. We love to be on the other side of this fog show. Leigh Escu said on Instagram, the U.S. Army noted in 2024 article, the ideal candidate for psychological operations is a very cerebral and analytical, which means different types of recruitment methods are required. The group's recruitment videos are infrequent and tend to cause a stir due to the unusual content. The art of the PSYOP relies on persuasion rather than physical force. The tools of the trade are logic, fear, desire, and other mental factors to invoke specific emotions, attitudes, and behaviors. According to the U.S. Army report, the ultimate objective is to persuade enemy, neutral, and friendly nations and forces to take favorable actions towards the U.S. and its allies. The force PSYOP is often referred to as the ghost in the machine. Because of its operations are seldom publicized, it is based out of Fort Bragg, one of the largest military complexes in the world, and the home to 82nd Airborne and U.S. Army Special Operations Command. The fort covers about 251 square miles. It's about 65-mile drive south from downtown Raleigh. The PSYOP soldiers help ensure decision makers, partners, and populations receive the right message at the right time. Quiet professionals, global impact. The 1st Special Forces Command Airborne wrote in a post and shared recruitment. Okay. What's your thoughts about this, Marshall? What's your thoughts about that? I mean, he wrote this article, Tyler Durden, on November 29th. So the fact that he put that out and he was covering that with everything that's going on, could you argue in some way what is exactly taking place in Venezuela is a psychological operation? I mean, they're trying to get Maduro to surrender in some way or force his surrender in some manner without physical force. What is that opportunity like, and what are they doing per se? I mean, hypnotic recruitment video. That's pretty telling if you think about what they're doing here.
Well, I'm not a big Q aficionado, but this has got Q fingerprints all over.
Yeah, neither am I. I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm not.
but
I
I've
don't know
read
enough
the
about it
posts.
to get involved in it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I've read the posts. I've
Yeah.
over the years and all that. I've never been, but it really does look like we're looking at a lot of the things that are coming out to be true.
Mhm.
What a lot of these posts were put out there 4 years ago, and so I think
In itself, intrinsically, that could be considered
Yeah.
a PSYOP as well, because a lot of people.
Well, that
I mean, think about it. If you look at it from that perspective, most people thought, "Oh, that's nothing. It's a PSYOP itself." But intrinsically, inherently, some of these things are coming to fruition, right? I mean,
Yeah, I think they're saying that we're right on the edge of where
Right.
we're gonna go.
right.
We're right there. I do believe that we are very, especially when you look at all the shit that's going on in all these cities,
Yeah.
how they're going against and then now the National Guard. What's next? It's going to be
Yeah.
the military.
Yeah.
It's ramping up right now. I
Well, I
believe.
know. I believe I've been saying the pre-mobilization, the military, it's all over the place. I mean, 9, 10. I mean, what they put out 14 different cities, 15 different cities are going to be occupied in some way. I mean, Trump says a major announcement is coming tomorrow. You never know. Yeah, I mean, is it going to come before Christmas? This is going to be interesting. What's going to happen? I see choppers right over my house about every day headed back from Fort to Bragg. Super D. Think they got a holding area for illegals. Interesting. Does anybody think in the chat how many holding areas do you think we have in the United States right now where illegals are being held? Do you think it's only certain places and stuff like that? You know, they're building one in Jacksonville. You got one down in Miami. I mean, there are places all over that we don't even know. I mean, I think in some way There might be more secret ones because where are you gonna put all the people that you're gonna arrest? All right, meaning the politicians, the governors, the mayors, all the people that are supposedly going to be arrested that we will see. I would hope that, all right, that the psyop is not on us, that we're not fooled that nothing is going to happen, because I don't believe that. But I'd like to see it in some way. I mean, I don't want to wait for a pay-per-view event. I think we're going to need to know how many mayors and governors and corrupt politicians are going to go down for the count. I'd like to see it. You know, I think that would give me pause to say, all right, here we go. I mean, yeah, I would like to see it. I'd like to know about it. I'd like to be in the know about it. I'd like to feel that the rest of us would like to feel that as well, that at least that this is being taken care of, because you can't continue on in this manner. And I think that it might have to be the invocation and the Insurrection Act. I don't think it's been called yet. I think it will be called. And I think that he will have to suspend habeas corpus. It's the only way to take down the judges. And the idea that he said they're null and void to begin with because of the auto pen and everything that's going on there leads me to believe behind the scenes this was already signed or something was done to prove that this was. I mean, this is their orchestration, their machination. All right. They allowed this to run roughshod, and they were recording this. They were taking notes and stuff. What is the next phase in some way? We have to see it on a prima facie level. You can't say behind the scenes and say, all right, it's all been done and we'll just give you the information. No, you have to see it unfold. You have to see it unfold and why it's unfolding. Where is it going to? I mean, the 2020 election, I think that's where it's going to. Number one. Number two is I think it's because of these sanctuary city fiefdoms that have been captured. They're run by cartels, trans-globalists, many different occupiers in this country. Thank you, Super D. So the Supreme Court poised to expand gun rights in most restrictive states. This is coming. In Hawaii, a contentious new law has sparked legal showdown with the national implications. The state's restrictive laws ban concealed permit holders from bringing firearms onto private property open to the public, such as restaurants or grocery stores. This restriction, enacted as a misdemeanor offense, requires clear authorization, whether in writing, verbally, or a signature. The law creates a maze of red tape for law-abiding citizens. The U.S. Department of Justice stepped in with a powerful friend of the court brief, siding with plaintiffs in the well-known case Wolford versus Lopez. The DOJ is arguing that the law tramples on the Second Amendment. Attorney Pam Bondi minces words on X, says Hawaii's law plainly violates the Second Amendment. This isn't the first gun law that has faced scrutiny. The 2022 Supreme Court ruling, New York State Rifle versus Pistol Association versus Bruin, struck down overly strict permitting rules that demanded applicants that prove a very special need for defense. Marshall, what's going to take place is that the ruling from this will reverberate to many different states that block the right to use your Second Amendment in these city-state fiefdoms, Philadelphia, New York, California, what have you, and stuff in many different areas, that there's strict gun laws and stuff. Now, the question is, how much are they going to, let's just say, put out in some way that they will let people know that you will not be deterred in any way from carrying a firearm? How are the restrictions going to be removed? Are they just going to blanketly say that you can no longer be deterred from carrying a concealed weapon or a license? Are they going to be more specific? Are they going to demarcate this in such a way? How is this going to break down?
Well, I'll tell you what, man, the Second Amendment is in the Constitution. So when you've got states and you've got cities that are blocking the rights of the citizens, that's a big deal. And really, what I think at the timing of this is really interesting, because we've got all this stuff going on right now, Brett, in all these areas, especially the cities, with the immigration, ICE, and all that. And it's the violence is ramping up, and the safety for people of the American citizens is at a high. It's very it's dangerous out there. And so with this going on now, I think this is telling us that the American people, you go out and you get yourself your firearm, get trained, and be ready, because something's coming. That's what this tells me.
Yeah, I mean, when you read it here, it says the case's outcome could ripple far beyond Hawaii, California, Maryland, New Jersey, New York, many different. The New York City Councilwoman Irina Verkanov, who faced her own legal trial carrying an inoperable firearm at a rally in 2023, charges later dropped. I think that's a lot of things. A lot of people that were, let's just say, charged, indicted, arrested in some way, that have fallen into the trap of these blue city state fiefdom sanctuaries that basically has continued to violate for decades. The Supreme Court is ultimately going to, I think, be the arbiter of finally getting to, will we be allowed? Will I be able to travel from Florida up and down these United States to New York and have my weapon with me as a carry permit? Will I be allowed? Because in Florida, you don't have to register your guns. It's open carry. But my argument will be, how are they going to rule? So they cannot deny you access. How is the Supreme Court? Okay, because I do believe this is going to be a 6-3-7-2 position. I do believe that's coming. But the majority opinion will have to be written in such a manner that it will serve as what? A blanket statement that you're in violation of the federal law, even though cities can make their own provisions under states can make their own provisions under the 10th Amendment. But the question is, as long as it does not what? Break the law and prevent you from violating those rights of having a weapon to begin with under Article 2 in the Constitution. I mean, in some way, how is this going to balance out? I wonder how this is going to balance out in some way. I mean, how are especially New York, New Jersey, how are these states going to balance this out, even though with their 10th Amendment rights? Because the Supremacy Clause, federal law, the law of the land, basically dictates, look, if you're in violation of my Second Amendment, you can't hold me back from me wanting to travel in there, regardless of whatever your provisions are. Federal law trumps state law. So in this case, how do you think this is going to echo out?
Well, I mean, you said it perfectly. I couldn't say any better. I mean, federal law trumps it. I mean, they're going to now your local cities that want to be, pain in the ass. They're going to try to drag people through stuff, through the courts and all that.
Right.
But in the end, it'll, it's going to be dealt with.
Right.
Because on a federal level, they can't do it.
Right. I mean, this one has to be as a blanket. That's why you need a 7-2. You're going to have to need something more than a 6-3. You need some overwhelming dissenting. And look, Ketanji Brown Jackson, from my standpoint, is illegal.
Yeah.
So, I mean, whatever she rules against, it's going to be what? And does her rulings in the past become null and void per se? Think about anything that she voted against that didn't pass in the Supreme Court. Will that be revisited if she's deemed null and void? Think about that. I mean, that's moving beyond the Second Amendment or what we're discussing right now. But I'm talking about with the judges. If she is voting against something that didn't pass and she's null and void, does that make everything that she did in the past null and void, and that her vote no longer counts? Can they go back to that? I mean, these are the things where you have to look at the judges too. Anything the judges have done too that are null and void because they're not supposed to be there. Can you walk that back? Systematically, when you really think about it, that's going to be crazy. That whole all that's going to be crazy. And how that's going to be. It's all going to be voided out? Is that what we're saying?
I would think it would be.
Yeah.
I mean, because if it's, if you're there illegitimately, it's not none of your, just like with Biden and all his pardons, same thing.
Yeah.
All that shit's going to be erased, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's just amazing how that's going to be. Thank you, Super D, for the cookie. Yeah, Thea, great show. Thank you, guys. This one was the best with the one with more sheep are awake. So this is more widespread. Well, I mean, you hope that people will wake up and realize what's going on regarding the toxic empathy, and that we can no longer stand by the idea that we should in some way feel bad about ourselves because we don't want to let these people in, or be guilt driven to allow this to continue on. It no longer, I mean, and all the other commentary and discussions and discourse about racist and xenophobia, all that stuff it's meaningless. It really has no meaning and no weight. And what's going on, the logical conclusion to this is that we have to remove as many people, bad actors, out of this country as we can, because it no longer fits the paradigm that we were forced to live with for a very long time, and it's coming to an end. Our country has been invaded. Our country, in some way, has been captured. And if we don't overturn this now, we will lose our country forthwith. We will lose everything that we believe. And as General Flynn said, the idea that you rather than someone who peacefully migrates and seeks asylum under established laws, think about that. Maybe a lot of these laws that were established were null and void to begin with. Think about that. And I think that's what he's saying. All right, that's our show for tonight. I want to thank everybody on Rumble and on Pilled. Was there anybody on I don't know if there's anybody on if you're on over on YouTube, please subscribe and stuff. I know people are watching the shows, their views over there. They are subscribing and stuff. So if you're over there, thank you all over here on Rumble. Marshall, we will return on Wednesday. Have a good night. God bless, and keep it going, because a lot of great things are on the horizon. Let's see what President Trump has to say tomorrow. Ciao, Bella.
Good night.